Hey everybody, it is time for the RambleCast. How's everybody doing? We've got a Corbin kind of with us, hopefully with us, maybe with us.
Yes, I'm having horrific network problems that I will not be able to solve for a while. So I have no solution. I'm just gonna cut out at random times, and that's just how it's gonna be.
And this episode is sponsored by Eero, giving you
Yes,
unreliable network capabilities since Corbin got his for review.
yes. There's something wrong with my Euro units. I think it might actually be like some like actual hardware issue because I've heard of this happening with other people where their units are just dropping packets like there's no tomorrow. um, but other people are totally fine. And I don't really know if it's a firmware software update thing or not. All of them are updated, so who knows? I'm sure there's some comment. I'm on the Eero Pro 6 right now. I have a normal Eero 6 that I can try. The only issue with that one is I can't do like hardline Ethernet on those because the secondary stations on the Eero are like Google Wi-Fi where they don't have the ports on them. They're just Wi-Fi access points, so that's kind of annoying.
Oh, I get why they do that. I hate that they do that.
At least give me one. I can work with one because when you have one,
You
you
can
can
hook
plug
up,
in it.
yeah,
You can plug in a switch and get 100 if you want.
yeah. Why do they not?
Yeah.
Why do they not? Just
Which is what I have over here. I have my second station over here, and I have a switch behind my desk that goes to my PC and my server and a couple other things. And I'm only really using the PC right now, so it's not a huge issue, but it would kind of annoy me if I had to give that up.
yeah.
So I don't know. I'll try some combination of those things later. I trying to figure out network problems is like my least favorite activity besides like paying taxes and shopping for clothing. Those actually I think shopping for clothing is higher because at least I get something nice at the end. At the end of all my network troubles, I kind of just get the internet I was supposed to have to start with.
I will grant, after having dated a very fashion obsessed person for a while, I actually grew believe me, it was one of those like I had to go up the mountain. It got really bad with how much I hated clothes shopping, but eventually I kind of got to a point where it balanced out, and then it got easy. Like, finally I learned to not hate clothes shopping. um,
Yeah, I tossed out a lot of old stuff last year, um, and I mainly need like shorts right now because I think North Carolina has finally decided we're in summer.
hmm.
It's at least 80 degrees out now during the day, and I have like one pair of shorts that is not falling apart, so I need more.
I know that feeling
So
too well.
I'll probably do that. I have a lot of pants that I like, but it's getting too toasty for those. So, um, sadly, those will probably stay in the closet for the next 8 months.
Also, hello to Kirby and Austin. Good to have you guys in chat. Uh,
Oh, I do not have the chat open.
how dare you?
I'm slacking.
Um,
Ooh, Austin's getting Popeyes.
no, Kirby got Popeyes.
Oh,
Austin is commenting on having had Popeyes, but it's always fun at finding out what they put in the bag. Which,
I haven't had Popeyes in for. It's not like one of my favorite fast food, but it's like on the like upper 50% for me for sure.
I have never had it. I
It's
honestly,
yeah.
I think I've only, not even joking, I think I've only ever even seen a Popeyes maybe 2 or 3 times in my life.
Some of their stuff is good,
They're
but yeah.
they're only East Coast, right? Or if they have any West Coast, I don't
If I
think
let
that
me
they're
see
very
if I
common.
scroll out far enough in Google Map.
We lost Corbin, at least momentarily.
Mm,
Oh no, you're still there, audio. Okay. Yeah, this will be the surprise questionable segments where we're never quite sure if we have Corbin. If his video's frozen, odds are we don't have it. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I like Popeyes is just one of those things. I'm not sure if I would necessarily be a big fan for it or not, without having ever had it.
I think I'm back.
You are back.
Okay, hi. Yes, I don't know if it's limited to East Coast or not. But yeah, they're.
Oh, I'm checking for myself.
Kirby said AC's router setup. Yeah, I am gaming type routers. I don't, technically speaking, I don't need anything like super crazy because I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. But the walls on this apartment are kind of intense, and my main
well, while he is temporarily gone, I will confirm we don't have any Popeyes near me, but we do at least have them in Oregon. Apparently they're pretty thick in Portland area. Well, maybe not thick. They're not like Starbucks thick, but they exist. And then it looks like what? That's Salem, right? Wait, is that Salem? Yeah. There are a couple in Salem. That's where I've seen them before. Driving by Salem, I know I've seen them. Oh wait, do we have one? We do have one somewhere close to me. There's one in Cottage Grove. That's weird. You are back-ish. You're also split.
I am. Oh, well, just forget about that other Corbin. I'm the real one.
Yeah, I'm just kicking out.
I'll kick him out. Oh, you kicked him out. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just hitting like cells, and you got to pick the right one.
Yeah. So anyway, what was I gonna say? I don't remember. Oh, your router setup. That's what you were talking about when you vanished.
Oh, I was just talking that my main access point is in my bedroom, so like technically speaking, with the square footage of my apartment, I shouldn't need any kind of mesh system at all, but it does really help with like the layout. Like there's a bunch of walls in the way. So I'll have to figure that out. Something. What's annoying is that there's actually 2 places in my apartment I can hook up the cable connection to go to the modem. One is in my bedroom, and the other is actually in like the main living area, which sounds like is where I should put it because it's where I am most of the time. But it's on the wall right next to the fireplace, where I guess like I think you're supposed to mount your TV above the fireplace is how they designed this place. I'm not wall mounting anything ever again, so I haven't done that. But I guess the logic was like the cable port is going to be like where you think the TV's going to go. But I had the modem and stuff there for a little while, but like it's so ugly because it's like it's got to poke out of my wall like there's nothing around there. So at least when it's in my bedroom, I have it like on the bottom shelf of a bookshelf, so it's fine. I don't ever see it. But if I put it there, it's just like it's like a centerpiece basically the modem turns into. So yeah, so I'll have to figure that out. It's gonna be real fun. Maybe I'll do some of that tonight because I need to get this sorted out.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of things that need to get sorted out, Cody.
Yes.
Motorola. Am I right? Haha.
I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have a link on this, or?
I do.
Okay.
I will put it in the Ramble Discord. See, the link before mine is a Popeyes locator.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's sure.
I'd already found it on Google Maps, but yeah. There's it's a place. It turns out it does exist in Oregon. Okay, so Motorola, why do they exist?
Yeah. So Motorola has announced like at least 5 or 6 Moto G phones in the past few months. I think they're I don't even know if you can call them like yearly refreshes, because there's like a refresh for something in the Moto G line like once a month at least. So I don't really I can't keep up with it, and it's like my actual job to keep up with this stuff, so that says a lot about how many phones Motorola is putting out. But they earlier this month they officially revealed the Moto G 5G and the Moto G Stylus 5G, which are 5G versions of the phones they already put out a few months ago. But the connectivity isn't the only difference, because it never is. Like Samsung did this too. I don't know if they did it this year, but definitely in 2021, when they had all their budget phones, they'd have like a Galaxy A32 4G and then an A32 5G. But they usually didn't sell those in the same country. Like the 4G one would be sold in like India or wherever that doesn't have like a deployed 5G network. But like here, you've been like in the States, you've been able to buy the normal new Moto G, and now there's a new Moto G 5G. And they're just, again, all these phones overlap with each other. And I was really glad. I was on a briefing with Motorola for this with like a bunch of other tech people in it. And I'm going to thank my lucky stars I didn't have my webcam on, because they would have seen me laugh at least 3 or 4 times when they were answering questions. Because these phones are hilarious. They're so bad. Like Motorola's phones. Okay, so like if I'm going to completely ignore from my head the update situation, which is by far the worst part of their phones, like their phones are fine for the most part. Like based on what you're paying for them, the Moto G phones are fine if you ignore updates. Like they usually have decent enough screens, the cameras are okay, they don't really do anything weird to Android like other manufacturers.
Your use of the word fine, like the way it's almost punctuated, my brain is just jumping straight back to the movie The Italian Job, where they keep pointing out that fine stands for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And it's just like, yeah, that sounds like Motorola. they got that. That's perfect.
Yeah, like their phones are like if I was on a desert island and I could only use their phones, I wouldn't be too mad. I would just be like, why is this security update from like 8 months ago? But like these aren't even that. They're not even like a good value on paper. So the cheaper one is the Moto G 5G, which has a MediaTek Dimensity 700 chip, which I think is okay. Like MediaTek now has a couple chipsets that aren't total garbage anymore. I think that's one of the least garbage ones. But it's a 6.6 inch screen that is 720p, so you can taste the pixels on that. And it has a 5,000 milliamp battery with 10 watt charging, so it's going to take a really long time to recharge with that big battery. But
it'll also last a long time, theoretically.
Yeah,
maybe, hopefully.
Theoretically, yeah. It does have a headphone jack. Good job, Motorola. Haven't got rid of that yet. It has no NFC, which I don't like. That can't possibly be cheaper anymore. I don't know what the motivation is for that anymore. And it's Motorola. They can't upsell people on anything better. Those people will just buy an iPhone.
I will bet technically it is cheaper to not have NFC. I honestly don't doubt that. I'm pretty confident that they are saving some amount of money, even if it's just like the cost of like literally the patents that they would have to pay for.
Yeah, the license for the NFC brand or whatever.
Yeah, but all that being said, like, come on. You know it is cheap. You know that this is... NFC at this stage has to be under Fran. It has to be pretty cheap to put it in there. These aren't metal phones, so you don't have like a technical hurdle to cross. There's really no good reason here. It cannot cost that much that it wouldn't be worth just throwing it in there.
Yeah, and yeah, and then there's the Moto G Stylus 5G, which has like the same. I think I'm pretty sure it's a capacitive stylus that all the other recent Moto G Stylus phones have had. It has a slightly better chipset. It has the Snapdragon 695, which is actually I think a year or two old at this point. But like I think it's still I don't know. I can't keep up with Qualcomm's mid-range chips anymore either.
Yeah, their branding.
Their names they don't make a lot, but yeah, the names are all over the place. I'll be very happy when the updated like Gen branding gets moved down to all the product lines.
Well, you say that, but you know they're going to screw it up like maybe 2 generations in. Somehow, some way, they're going to like they're going to do like the weird thing cameras do, where the better thing has just like a single digit number and the budget stuff is like a 4-digit number or something. They're going to find a way to screw up the Gen stuff still.
They will. I'm sure they will. And this one also has a 5,000 milliamp battery, still with only 10-watt charging. And so, you know, all that in mind, I'm kind of like, okay, it's not great. And then you get to the price. So for the regular Moto G, they want $400. And for the Moto G Stylus, they want $500. Which is wild.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's like... Motorola gets away with a lot of this stuff because their phones are cheap and they're like acceptable. But these are not cheap phones. This is a really big price jump for a Moto G. I looked around. I couldn't find a more expensive Moto G phone. Maybe there was one at some point, but
I mean, these are mid-range prices on what would objectively be. I mean, they're not budget phones.
Yeah,
like they're not.
Yeah.
This isn't the Walmart special that like you pull out of a blister pack, but
both of these should be like $300, basically. Maybe $350 for the Stylus, but
okay,
yeah, like
I would say, yeah, I would probably go to $250 for the Moto GG is what I'm just gonna call it. $250 seems fair. Maybe if like off contract, a full $250 seems like a reasonable price. I mean, we're talking about a 720p screen that's giant and not much else. Like there's just not much about this, just skimming over the specs, and it's not going to get updates.
No,
really.
Okay, so they said
up to 3 years.
Up to 3 years. I don't know what up to means. I think like two. I think people asked about that on the call and they never like clarified what that means. Up to could mean none. That's what up to means. So exactly. I don't know. And they're only getting one major Android update. So they'll get Android 13 and that's it.
This is like the Fire Festival of update promises. Like we want to do something good. We're not gonna, but it's in our hearts. We're gonna try.
And it's so bad. Like you have to really try to be uncompetitive in the US mid-range market. Yeah. But these are not like a Pixel, like how much is the Pixel 5a is $450. And that's got, I guess, 2 years of updates more at this point because it came out last year. Or I don't remember, but yeah, I think it's got like 2 left, and it's gonna be better. Like cameras are gonna be way better.
Oh yeah.
Software's better.
I'm not sure it's even
It's got all
fair.
the pixel stuff.
Right. I'm not sure it's necessarily fair to compare a, the Pixel and Samsung's mid-range phones to this, because we are talking about two companies that are more willing to invest in making their phones actually good. Whereas Lenovo is obviously sitting more in the look. We just want to shovel something out. So, I can understand that, but these are like spec-wise worse. Their update promise is worse. Their quality is worse, and their prices are not even competitive for being worse.
No.
Which is rough.
Yeah, and then like if you're like not even married to Android, this is what a new iPhone SE costs, and that's gonna get updates like probably 20 years at this point. Honestly, with Apple, like
I mean, that's not untrue.
it's not a contest.
Yeah,
and obviously and again even the cameras, Cody, are so ridiculous. They're totally doing the sticker camera thing.
Yep, I saw that. The 50 megapixel main camera.
There's there's a 50 megapixel main camera, which is like the same like pixel combining thing as that like everyone does. So it's not really 50. It's 50 divided by 4, 12. It's gonna be 12 megapixels, and then a macro that is gonna look like ass, and a depth sensor that does nothing. Like it's legitimately the only ways. If I was like a T-Mobile employee in a store trying to sell this to someone, and I had like a really big commission for selling specifically this phone, I would be like, it looks kind of cool, and it's got a headphone jack. Those are my selling points here. Like everything else is terrible.
But it has an FM radio, Corbin.
Honestly, I would be surprised if that is enabled in the US.
Yeah,
I don't.
I was.
I don't.
Joke. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if they turn those on in the US. But if they did, that is kind of cool, I guess.
So, are you saying that you wouldn't be marketing its water repellent design?
Yes. Yeah. No IP rating. Just.
We promise water doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It avoids water. It has body odor issues, and water's like, no, I don't want to be near this.
Yeah. It repels everything just by being a terrible product.
It should just repel customers. But
yeah.
To their minimal credit, they do include a micro SD card slot.
Yeah, I mean, I wish my phone had that. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, they have little things here that you can kind of credit them for. Honestly, okay, actually, I want to ask, just logically, why, and obviously these two things aren't related, but why have a micro SD card slot when, let's be honest, the vast majority of people don't use this? I'm not saying people don't. Obviously, some people do. But why have that, but not have NFC? Or why not spend a little money to put in a better display? Or, I mean, there are just so many things here. It's like the micro SD card slot, it's not an expensive thing to include, but you could have put that money somewhere else, and I think a lot more people would be happier. Again, full acknowledgement, there are plenty of people who use micro SD card slots. I'm not saying that there aren't, but...
Right. Like, I wish I could.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there are ways that they could have done better. They could have picked different sacrifices for this phone.
Yeah, I know Moto's main market at this is just, it's countries I don't live in, and people over there use their phones in vastly different ways. So I can't guess as to like what would have been a better decision. But like I can say in the US, this is a absolutely terrible value, unless you really need a headphone jack or you really need a micro SD card slot, because Samsung isn't really on the SD card train anymore either. I don't I know their A50, their new A50s don't have it. I don't know if the 30s have it still, but yeah, they're and also Samsung phones, they never allowed adaptive storage in the first place. So like you couldn't really use the SD for anything more than files.
Right.
Um,
Which, depending on how you use your phone, that's not really a bad thing.
no,
Um,
like what I would want an SD card for is just more room for photos and music, and that's I don't need adaptive storage for that.
yeah. And I would use mine for photos and video. And that's about it. And I think that totally makes sense if that's how you're going to use a phone. In fact, that's even desirable to some people. But not the best story in many other ways.
Yeah, these phones are so terrible. I don't, and I guess it's working for them because like they mentioned,
These hits.
well, they're
Honestly.
making. I mean, they're still making a lot of money, and the important also factor this year is that LG is out of the market,
Mhm.
and Motorola, for the most part, is the one swooping up where LG used to be. Their shipments went up. Did I? They told me about their. Hold on, I'm gonna check my notes actually because they made a very impressive number before they started talking about the phones. I guess to imply that the fact that they're selling so many means they're good. Uh, do.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a
Uh,
little skeptical about that.
okay, so they told me in their press conference that Motorola is now third place in market share for US smartphones. I guess behind Samsung and Apple. They didn't say. And they, according to them, again, this is all coming from them. They're number 2 in the prepaid market and number 1 in the unlocked market. I actually believe the unlocked market because every time you go to like Amazon for best selling unlocked phones, like they're always at the top or near the top. And they reported an 80% year-over-year increase in, I think, market share. But yeah, so they're filling the market gap that LG left with its bad phones.
Okay,
And I
so
mean, LG got really far by also not trying with their budget phones. So
all right, I guess in the US they did make a slight climb. Or rather, oh, damn it. Okay. So I'm looking at the stat counter global stats. Um and I looking at specifically the US market. In the last year, Motorola went from 3.36% of the market share to 4.53. So a little over a 1% gain in a year. That actually is pretty good. I have to admit that.
yeah, I mean, there's a gap in the market, and Motorola apparently got a pretty good chunk of it.
And it's funny, if you overlay the line that is LG, it's almost the exact numerical reverse. Their drop off is a little bit more, but yeah, LG, like you actually see the lines. Well, you can't see me, but you actually see the
I
lines.
think I've seen that graph you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, you see the lines literally crisscross and
Right.
at almost the exact same angles. It's kind of funny. But it is also a very minimal, gradual change in curvature. That being said, you also, if you pop up Google's line, you see a very notable jump right at the Pixel 6 launch. And it's staying pretty even after that, but
Yeah.
Google is of course below both of these, but not by a lot. I think Google has absorbed a little bit of LG. Motorola's absorbed most of it. I bet Samsung has taken some percentage of that too, but just by virtue of the fact that a whole bunch of people don't recognize Google and Motorola are even still factors.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very curious what the next Pixel A phones will look like. Um, I'm I wouldn't rule out me getting one of those whenever it shows up, just because now that my Pixel 3a is officially dead from Google, um, I don't have a up to date stock-ish Android phone anymore. So my I'll see if I feel like I need one. I'll buy one. But yeah.
I get that. I'm still debating whether or not I'll touch a Pixel 7 when it comes out, but I'm right now I'm actually maybe leaning against just for financial reasons, but also because I need to find money for the watch.
Yes, the Pixel Watch, that happened.
That may happen.
Yeah.
We're in the may happen stage of this thing still.
I have nothing to say about the Pixel Watch. Like, I saw all the leaks coming out, I was like, okay. I have no I don't know. I've been kind of out of smartwatches lately. Just not really any enthusiasm for that.
Well, I feel like the smartwatch situation, we're in the calm before the storm. We know it's coming. We know that the watches are going to happen, but all the news has been, just wait, it's coming. That's really what every single thing is confirming to us. Because the leaks about the watch really just confirm things that we already heard. They kind of confirm things that we've already seen in previous renders. Except for that, I still think a really ugly crown. And otherwise, yeah, there's nothing special happening with that story right now. It's just a whole bunch of things that are kind of funny to talk about. I mean, quite literally, it's another unreleased device in a bar. Like,
yeah, that was funny. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Maybe someone's fibbing, but it'd be funny. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing really there that like we get. Like, even if I hadn't already bought a Watch 4, which is gonna get probably everything the Pixel Watch has, they're like I don't know. Like, I do kind of miss that after the Moto 360 came out, there was never like another watch like it in terms of design. Everyone besides like you could maybe say some of the Galaxy Watch actives, but like specifically with Wear OS, like no one really tried to do that again. There was a lot of round watches, but like most of them were coming from Fossil, which mostly did like traditional watch designs because that's their whole thing. But even the ones that didn't come from Fossil had like, huge like bezels and lugs and stuff. There wasn't another like sleek future watch. So like this is that it seems maybe, but also like I just can't get excited for it because it kind of took forever, and they're supposedly going with proprietary bands, which it's just so silly to me. Like I don't really think there's a reason for you to really ever do that with a watch, unless you have like a really good reason. And Apple does it because they can, and because they have an entire accessory ecosystem around all of their products, where like even if they use the most proprietary thing ever, there's still going to be a bunch of options to choose from. Pixel Watch will not have that.
No kidding.
Like it's the difference between the third-party cases available for any given iPhone and the third-party cases available for any given non-Samsung Android phone. Like, well, it's just that a couple companies will make some Pixel Watch bands. That's it.
you specify non-Samsung. I would even include Samsung in this list. This is something I complained about
So yeah, so
close to a decade ago. The
There-
fact that you could
yeah.
look for accessories for any Android phone, no matter how popular it was, and outside of cases, you would find nothing, or next to nothing.
right.
And in cases, there were a few case manufacturers that would make cases for like half of the phones out there. And then, but once you got to a company that didn't make a case for Samsung, they also didn't make a case for anybody else. Like there was just really no in between. Either basically you were a case company that made cases for iPhones only, or you were a case company that made cases for iPhones, Samsung phones, and probably just about everything else. At least anything that was a mainstream brand in the US.
Yeah. So that whole part is just silly to me. Like that tells me Google is just trying to go the Apple route, without like the other things that make Apple's watches good. Supposedly, again, we haven't seen the whole thing yet, but
I was gonna say I mostly agree, but I will wait to give final judgment until they actually show us a why. If they pop up and can present to us like, hey, we looked at watch bands, we looked at how everything connects and works, and we really put some design thought into this, and we wanted to make a new standard for watch bands, and everyone's welcome to use it, and it has these advantages. Like if they pop up and can genuinely say, for real, this is actually better, and we hope everybody starts using this, I'm open to this. But I don't think that's going to happen.
no. And also, I think the leaker person said that it's using the same. It's like wireless charging, but not like it's not fully compatible, which is exactly what Samsung does, and that makes me so annoyed because it's like you already put the coil in it or whatever to do wireless charging, and you can't go the extra step of like making it actually work on other chargers. So you're gonna make people buy another proprietary watch charger, which will probably be different than the ones they already sell for Fitbits, and which will also be different from the Galaxy Watch chargers and the chargers from all the Fossil watches that aren't that good.
So I'm a little again, this is on like so many minor technicalities. I'm slightly skeptical of his read on this. Not that I think he's wrong, just I think there is room for a possibility that this is something else. So he said that it wasn't working with the charger or with the wireless charger, but first to note, it also had pins on the back, or not pins, but like contact points for pogo pins. So very not exclusively, none, but very few watches I've heard of have both wireless charging and charging pins.
Right.
Which leaves me to wonder, why would they do both? It's possible that this actually is like a developer model, like extensively it's got to have those pins for some purpose.
Or like a debugging thing or something.
Yeah, so it's possible that it does have wireless charging, but they also added those just as like service pins. It is also possible that it will have wireless charging, but the software that's currently installed just doesn't work, or doesn't work correctly. So this may not be a proprietary thing. It may actually work.
That's a fair point.
And then I'm going to throw in, and this is a stretch, I fully don't believe this, but I just think it warrants admitting it. I don't think anyone knows what wireless chargers he was using, except he said he tried using reverse charging from his Pixel, which let's not go down that road for what could be wrong there. But if he's using something that has NFC, there is a very weird, obscure possibility that maybe it's triggering something in the watch, causing it to briefly wake up, which is what he described. It briefly wakes up, detects that there's something there, and then it never starts charging. There's a very specific scenario where I can see this making sense, where it has NFC, it is waking up, but it's not going to
Right.
charge off of this because it doesn't actually have wireless charging. That scenario, in case anyone is thinking I sound crazy, remember when they added that thing to Android where you could put like your driver's license information and other identity stuff into the phone, and even when the phone's battery is basically dead, it like through NFC, it could still communicate that data. I'm wondering if this could theoretically be something like that built into the watch, because that's actually a place where you might want something like that. I don't think that's the case. I'm not arguing that it is. I'm just raising the possibility that maybe, because again, this is busted, wonky firmware, maybe it would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not totally writing off that Google is being anti-standard with their wireless charging. It probably is, but yeah, we don't know that yet. And did we lose Corbin?
Oh, no, I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you have a point that it might be like we don't know how early production it is, or how early the software builds are. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just jaded with Google because like
No, that's completely warranted.
I know the Pixel 6 is like a pretty good phone, but like I've written so many articles about like the software bugs at this point. I'm just like I have that mindset, and then I go back to like I'm seeing the proprietary band and maybe a proprietary charging thing. I'm like, okay, I had no enthusiasm for it. And like I can't tell you how annoying the Samsung watch thing is. Like I really don't get that one. Especially because like I think I'm down to one. I had 2 watch chargers. I don't know where my other one went. So I just have one, which is really annoying. When I have all these wireless charging pads I can't use with them.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, I'm going to lose this one going traveling or something. And then I'm going to have to go to Samsung's website and cough up, whatever is $20 for their charger again, which is also what Fossil does.
Yeah.
Their chargers are proprietary and bad.
Well, I will argue time and time again, and I mean adamantly argue because I detest this. I cannot stand any charger that is not a puck with a USB-C port in it. And I know I ranted about this in the past. I'm not going to repeat the rant again. If anyone cares, there's an old RambleCast where I went on about this for like 10 minutes. But for real, this should not be a thing. Pucks should absolutely just be standalone things. And man, I would love to see a universal puck. Like just a truly universal, or at least pick some sort of a like if you want to go wireless, stick to a wireless standard. If you want to go pogo pins, great, that's the other option. Go with a standard shape and size there. But
right,
no
or just have the same like pin voltage and the spacing is the same, because then you can make like the actual like if you want to make like a specially shaped dock for your watch, like all the like like the Moto 360 had, like it had its little cradle thing, or Samsung where it's magnetic on top of the wireless charging thing, like cool, you can do that, but like the pins still need to be the same, so then you can swap whatever, or you can have one generic one that doesn't have like a shell around it. That's actually what TechWatch does. Their little pin thing, it's just like it's not even like a dock or anything, which annoyed me when I was using it, because then the watch doesn't like kind of moves around on the table if you're charging it, but it would be helpful for that.
To be fair, that honestly, in my opinion, makes it a little bit nicer if you just need to pick up the watch, fiddle with it for a little bit, and then just set it down. If there's an actual dock, like it's usually a pain to pick up and do anything with the watch. At that point, I kind of prefer just wires. which
Yeah.
Asus was good about. Asus watches were so nice for that. You just had the wire with basically a magnetic plug with 4 pogo pins, and yeah, that just snapped onto the side of a watch and you were done. Like,
Yeah.
it was so much easier to hold.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll say I don't know. I'm not sure what's wrong with me. I haven't been very motivated to use smartwatches the past couple months. Um, Whereas I have been for the past like 6 or 7 years. I don't know. Whenever when did the oh man, that was 2014. That was when the LG G watch came out, didn't it? First one.
2014. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because yeah, I started AP in 2013, so 2014 would have been the year of wear.
Yeah. I bought the G watch a couple months after it came out. I actually have that. It's in a drawer. It's right here. Get the phone drawer.
I actually have. I know where mine is sitting right now. I just don't care to go get it. And none of my old watches have been charged in like 3 years probably.
This drawer's a mess. I need to clean out this drawer too.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff.
Here's the cradle from
the
G watch.
It's such a nice piece of kit.
No, wait. Oh, I have two. I think one of them died. I think that's what that was. Okay. Do I not have it? Here's my Chromecast audio. That's gonna be my retirement plan. I hope those are still selling at inflated rates.
Honestly, I never knew they actually got to being inflated. But now I should go look because I have
there
two
was
of them.
There was a rush. Okay. Yep. Here's mine.
Yep. And like everyone else's in the world, yours does not have straps on it.
No, I
swear every single person took their straps off of that watch at some point and just never got around to putting any back on.
Yeah, well, I think I like stole the ones from this and used it somewhere else, and then something happened there. But I mean, and again, like, also what kind of annoys me is I really like the square screen. Like, I really get why Apple does that with their Apple Watch, and no one will make a square screen like Wear OS adjacent watch. The only
I wondered about that for a while.
Yeah, like the only option there, I think, is still just the Oppo watch. But you can't officially buy that here, and I don't know if it's like, I think they sell it in like Europe, so it does plug into like Wear OS stuff. But I haven't looked into it. I don't really want to import a smartwatch.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I will say I still prefer round Wear watches. I know it's not as nice for notifications. I fully acknowledge that, but I still prefer them. For that matter, I still prefer a watch with physical hands. So the so-called hybrid watches are, to me, still the ideal. But
yeah, I've been using. I busted out my Fossil hybrid watch again. I've been wearing that for a little while. I do like this, although like I don't know if it's my phone or the app or something, but I have to open the app to synchronize with it. That's kind of annoying.
Ew, yeah.
I don't know if that's something I messed up or missed or something, but but yeah, I mean, I like this. So I don't know, just not super excited for the Google Watch.
Well, I think we'll get there. The biggest issue right now is just none of the news coming out is really more than confirmations or sort of confirmation bias. Like, it's teaching us to expect some stuff, but none of it's really things that we didn't already kind of know or suspect. And that sort of it makes it just feel less interesting.
I guess what I'm most curious about is how what the Galaxy Watches will look like after this, because presumably this watch will ship with the final Google approved Wear OS 3, which we haven't seen yet. Still don't really know what that's going to look like. All we have to go on is like the emulator images. So that's gonna. I'm interested in seeing what that's like, and also if all of those changes and stuff will be ported over to Samsung's watches, because Samsung's watches are kind of on like a Wear OS 3, almost like a beta. Like there's stuff that's like should be there, but it's not. There's been a settings menu for choosing an assistant since day one, but like Google Assistant hasn't been there, so it's just Bixby. And that also doesn't work. Like if you change the app, if you like side load something that will appear in that menu and then you pick it, the button is still hard coded to Bixby. So like it's very like it's not like fully figured out.
No kidding.
Now there is like Verizon did push an update to their Galaxy watches, and in their changelog they said it supports Google Assistant, and I think Samsung published like some video somewhere.
Yep. Presumably by accident, they published a video that shows their watch with Google Assistant or advertises it or something.
Probably be on the Pixel Watch.
So, yeah, I don't get why that wasn't something that they had solved long ago. And yeah, I one of the things I very much held to, which is what you were just saying, we don't know what Wear OS 3 is actually going to look like in the end, because this whole time the Watch 4 has really just had this look like, how to say this, it's looked like Wear OS 2 but slightly upgraded.
Well, it's Wear OS 2 but with Google's new apps.
Yeah. And the thing is, we don't know if Wear OS 3 actually is going to be this, or is this sort of like the in-betweener version? Is this really just kind of like a 2.5 transitional version that Google kind of spun out just to give Samsung something to market and advertise? And are we going to see something entirely different, or is Wear OS 3 just going to be like 2.7?
Right.
It's more, it's better, but it's basically the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, in a weird way, this lack of knowledge, I feel it almost makes the topic of smartwatches less interesting right now, because we know the topic's going to get interesting again, but like it almost feels bad to talk about it now, knowing we don't know what's even coming.
Yeah. What I will say is I need to get more watch bands. Because like I got my Galaxy Watch 4, and all of the Samsung, I hate Samsung's bands because they do like the under thing, like where you have to like shove the end of the band underneath the other one.
I hate that.
I hate it, like rips off a little bit of arm hair every time. And also pinches my skin. So I don't like that. So I need to get like some actual good bands, but most of the ones I have do not fit, because the Watch 4 is 20 millimeter, and I think all my other ones are 22 or 24 or something. So I have like I still only have like 2 bands that fit this, and they're also not like super great.
For what it's worth, this is part of why I like either metal bands with the classic sort of snap design, or what Apple popularized as the Milanese loop. Basically,
yeah, the button. Yeah.
Well, no, not a button. But like the thin mesh metal that has like the magnetic. Just
oh yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Like I've had 2 or 3 of those now, and outside of the fact that they are somewhat prone to the thin metal mesh occasionally getting damaged a little easily. Like, outside of that, these are really good. They're pretty durable. The one thing is they do loosen up a little bit because the magnet that holds the clasp, I guess you want to call it,
Right.
like that will slip a little bit, so it'll get a little loose, but not bad. Like, it doesn't come off, it doesn't do anything particularly stupid. It's comfortable, it's easy to wear. Yeah, I still think that this is probably my favorite, and it looks fairly good.
Yeah.
Though I think the classic metal band of like big chunky links, honestly, I still think looks about the best.
Yeah, I need to go band shopping. Get some more fun stuff. I think that's my problem. I need to
hold on once. Well, go ahead and keep talking.
Okay. Just need to buy some fun bands, because you can do that when a watchmaker goes with the standard, and there's like 70 million watch bands on Amazon. It's great. How's the chat doing? I haven't seen anyone talk in like 15 minutes. Tell me how your days are going, or I'll talk about my day, which wasn't that interesting because there wasn't a whole lot of news to do.
Okay, sorry, had to respond to something.
Unacceptable. I'm allowed to have constant connectivity issues. You're not.
That's the way it goes.
You know, so I guess I can talk about my Zen phone here, my purchase of regret real quick.
Yeah, may as well. It's a good warning story.
It is a good warning story. Yeah. So I wanted a Zenfone 8, mostly just to play with. Like, I was thinking I would switch between this and my S21 every once in a while, because this is really the only other like compact Android phone. Everything else is massive. So I wanted the little itty bitty phone. And I didn't know at the time that eBay sold their phones on their website. I didn't know that. I went on Amazon first. That's where everyone sells their phones, and Amazon has really good return. I hate Amazon, but like I'm still gonna buy a lot of my like expensive stuff from there because their returns are very, very accommodating. So I went there, and it was only like third-party sellers. And then I went to eBay, and I saw that there were sellers there, like a lot of the big like eBay stores, like back when I covered deals at Android Police, like it was like those kind of stores we would cover. And I checked the model number, and it matched up with the US one. So I bought it, and it came, and my first warning sign that I got the wrong one should have been that there's like half the box is in Chinese, but half the box is also in English. So I was like, okay, maybe they're just making the same box for everyone to save money. Like when you buy earbuds and the instruction manual's in like 10 languages, because they just print one. So I was like, okay, that's probably fine. And I set it up, and everything's fine. And then it like kind of gets a signal. It's worse than my current phone, but I already knew that like the US Zen phone doesn't have all of the bands, because the United States is not Asus's main market. They're not going 100% of the way. And then I like did more, and voice over LTE activated fine. So that was like the main hurdle. That's like thing you still don't really know when you buy a phone that's not like a Samsung phone. Is like, will I receive calls? Don't know anymore because we don't do GSM anymore.
Yeah.
And that was all fine. And then I go into the settings, and I realize that this is the international one. Actually, this is the Taiwan model, which again, like if I look close at the box. So what I didn't know is that there's a model number for the Zenfone 8, which is ZS590KS. But then after that, there's other numbers. And the eBay page didn't have those extra numbers, and I didn't know there's extra numbers after that. And of course, this one like ends in TW, which I guess is for Taiwan. So I actually bought the Taiwan one. And like it's fine. Like I can, when I'm outside, I'm getting okay reception. Like the speeds are okay, but it's mostly just the fact that like I didn't realize that Asus sells the American ones on their website, and they're the same price that I paid for this. So I should probably just get the American one if I want one of these.
Probably.
Yeah.
That being said, you now get stuck paying a restocking fee.
Yeah, because I already took it out of the box and everything. So that's fun. That's a oopsie.
Austin asks, how is the camera? Have you tried using the camera?
Did he? Oh, there it is. His messages came in late. Camera is not as good as my S21, but it's fine. I took some pictures earlier, and it's okay. But I mean, like it is also a little bit like thicker. So even though it's a small phone, it is like a little bit more depth than my S21. But it's still got a flat screen, which is a non-negotiable for me at this point. I will not go back to curved screens. No micro SD card slot still, but does have a headphone jack. Because I accidentally bought the international one, it's dual SIM. I don't think the US one is dual SIM. I'm not sure. Also because I accidentally bought the international, it's got FM radio. Let's go. I actually do. I have a little like Nokia feature phone I use now when I like take my dog on walks, so I don't get distracted with Discord notifications that I can't stop my monkey brain from wanting to tap on. And that has an FM radio, and it picks up the NPR station here nicely. And after I think it's 11 or 11:30 here, the NPR station here switches over to BBC. So it keeps going. So I've done plenty of late night walks to British people talking about how fucked up Ukraine is right now.
It's pretty much their only topic.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, like it's nice. I think I'll probably get the US one. I'm not sure. I'll look and see. I kind of want something different than my S21, just to like switch between. Also, just so like I'm better informed when I'm doing comparisons, because like I hadn't like Asus is like almost stock. They add a couple things, but they don't really like change anything in Android, if that makes sense. So like it's good just for me to use a normal Android phone, so to speak. But yeah.
How much do you feel like you're going to be doing those comparisons, since you have now announced a upcoming change?
Yes. I mean, not like I don't. Mostly just for me, for context. Like I don't think I'm going to be writing like guides or anything, but just for me, and also just because like I get bored, so I kind of want to switch between something every now and again. And I don't currently have a phone that I can switch to that's like comparable to my S21. I have a bunch of like meme phones. Like I got the Titan Pocket that's like a BlackBerry clone, and that's fun, but that's not the same. That's not comparable. That barely has a camera. But yes, I am. I forgot to say that, but yes, I am going to be news editor at How to Geek, starting hopefully next week. They haven't actually like given me an email or a Slack login yet, and it's Wednesday night, so they might be saving that for later. But
yeah, to be fair, there's time. These are things that take like 10 minutes, so yeah. As long as they hit you up on Friday afternoon, you're golden.
Yeah, and you never hit the ground running with these jobs anyway. I'm gonna have to learn how to use functional WordPress again. Oh
my god, that'd be so nice.
Oh, I'm gonna honestly, I'm living it up, Cody. I've been told their WordPress it works, and they have a developer that takes requests. So I will take full advantage of that. But
I expect so.
Yeah. Kirby said no Pixel 6a core band. Yeah, that might be like another option here, but like the Pixel iPhones are pretty big now. They're not compact anymore, which kind of annoys me. Yeah, I don't know. I'll find something.
So, Corbin, you do know that investing in a Pixel phone, like there is just so much content you will be able to write. That investment will pay for itself in no time.
Yes.
And this is an inside joke Corbin and I get. I'm very much making fun of a person with this reference.
Yes.
He knows.
It's a funny joke.
Yeah. Sorry for the total inside baseball moment.
That's fine. Okay, so Kirby said the 6A is supposed to be 6.2 inches across. Okay, so that's 0.1 of an inch different than my S21. But yeah, I don't know. I'll see. I'm not sure. I might want something before then. That maybe I could sell or give to someone and then get a 6A.
Man, remember when a phone being 6 inches was like a holy shit moment?
Yeah. I'm just so mad because there's a lot of like really good phones that I can't use because they're monsters, and I really don't like using large phones. Like I had this problem when I reviewed the another Asus phone, the ROG phone. I think it was the second one I reviewed at Android Police. I have it still, and like I really like that phone because it was like the total, and at least at the time it was like the total anti-trend phone. Like when everyone was going with like notches and dropping the headphone jack, because it was a 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It had actually, I think I still hold on. It's in this drawer also with the watch. Let's see. Here it is. So here's this monster of a phone that I'm sure is still on like Android 10 or something, but like it's this thing, and it's huge. Like I can't my thumbs go up halfway on the screen. It's a massive phone, but it has front facing speakers which were really nice, like they sound really good, and it has a headphone jack, and it has 2 Type-C ports, and it had a bunch of other stuff in the OS and hardware that was really nice. And I can't use these phones because they're massive. Mm-hmm. And I also need like a case just for my own, like I'm not really like clumsy with stuff, but like accidents happen, someone could bump into me and the phone goes on the payment, so I need a case so the big phone becomes bigger. So
no, I get what you're saying, and believe me, I'm still slightly nervous about the fact I haven't put a case on my S22 yet. But I'm also not carrying this anywhere, so I don't know how much that really matters yet. But yeah, I never feel good about having uncased phones.
No, when I'm in my own house, sure, but if I'm going anywhere, I always have some kind of a case on.
Even in my house, I don't feel great about it, just because it's amazing how often phones get knocked off of like a desk or a table,
and there's still sharp edges and things in there.
Well, yeah, or they fall and hit something on the way down, or they fall on something. Like sometimes the phone isn't even the thing I'm worried about, it's what they land on. But yeah, there are too many things that I don't necessarily trust in that sense. Plus, I also have bad habits where I toss my phones between hands. I stack them on top of each other, particularly stacking on top of the Pixel 6, which has the curved screen and insanely glassy screen. And cases are designed to expose a lot of this, so everything loves to slide off that damn phone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've had, especially since getting that phone, I've had a lot of phones hitting the floor. Like, it is at least once a week. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. Kirby said the modem and fingerprint issues on the Pixel 6 Pro made me switch back to my OnePlus 9. I will come back to Pixel if the Pixel 7 Pro fixes the issues. Yeah, that's fair. It is very funny to me that the OnePlus 9 is the less buggy of those two phones.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, the modem issues seem to be no joke with that phone. I haven't. The last time I used a Pixel phone as my main phone was the original Pixel that I had for like 3 or 4 years, and I really liked that phone. Once I changed the battery.
Oh, do we? Yep. Looks like we lost him again. Yeah, I'm still skeptical. I don't know what to think necessarily about the modem. Ah, you're back.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Oh, I was just saying, last time I used a Pixel as my main phone was the first one, and it was pretty good. But I just haven't had a reason to go back really. Once I got on the Samsung train, it's mostly pretty good. They're not perfect either. But
oh no, they're definitely not perfect, but
no one is.
Yeah, I mean, I've had enough weird little issues with this S22 already that, yeah, perfection is a pretty long trip away. But yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, as far as the Pixel 6 Pro goes, or Pixel 6 in general, I have a feeling that the modem issues will probably get better. I'm not prepared to assume that they will get good or be solved, especially since Pixels in the past have always had a bit of a weird set of modem issues. As far as the fingerprint sensor goes, I honestly think that's one of those things where it went horribly wrong with the Pixel 6, and by the Pixel 7 it'll be good.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to screw that one up 2 years in a row. Hardware issues like that have almost universally never persisted from one generation to the following generation. So chances are that'll be solved. Modem, questionable.
Yeah. Curry said, I might try the S22 Ultra if I get the courage to spend the money. Yeah, I mean, like, every time the S22 Ultra is on sale, I look at it again, and like, the stylus is neat. I do use that on my Tab S6 a decent amount, and I would probably use it more on a phone, honestly. But that's also a huge phone, and I don't like curved screens, and it's like, I will never be happy. That's just what I've come to. I'm just not going to be happy with a phone. Just like I'll probably be never happy with a laptop.
Corbin, don't you understand? There's an easy solution to this. It has been demonstrated, in fact, just in the last couple of weeks. The solution is make billions of dollars and go buy a company and then just make it do the things you want it to do.
Of course. I will buy Samsung.
Yeah.
And then tell them, put the headphone jack back. Do it now.
Yeah. Easy solution. Total fix. And make a non-curved small screen phone. Easy.
Are you trying to pivot to Twitter? Is that what you're doing?
I mean, it wasn't really trying to pivot, but honestly, it was just so easy. It was right there.
That's true. I'll talk about. We can talk about Twitter for a little bit, and then I need to go probably because it's 7 now.
Yeah. And as a side note, for a few different reasons, I actually can't stay too long. So yeah, this probably won't be the only topic. I've got one other thing that I'm figured would be worthy of hitting, but yeah, we'll keep it probably on the shorter side tonight. So yeah. Anyway, gee, where do we even begin on this? There's so much.
Yeah.
So much.
So, there's been speculation for a while that Elon Musk.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the agreement would stabilize the stock effectively at a price, but yeah, on the way towards that stabilization point, yeah, stock prices have been fluctuating a lot. Yeah, there are a few different ways that they can handle it, but yeah, effectively you can forcibly you can force the stock to get paid back out to people, and that's pretty much the end of the story. Oh, okay, your audio clipped out. Interesting. Because I hear you. Wait a second. What the hell? Why? Hold on. That might be weird. That might have been a thing with mine? Huh. Okay, maybe it was an OBS thing. For some reason, I think it lost that audio stream.
Are you trying to censor me, Cody?
Yeah. Clearly, Elon Musk should buy this. Should buy this channel so that we can have free speech.
So we can have free speech. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So
sorry about that.
yeah. So Mr. Dumbass is trying to buy Twitter. The fun part here is that again, like, his weird fans, every time you bring up that, like, this man just has an insane amount of wealth. I think he's the richest person on earth now, I think, because Bezos had to pay a lot in his divorce.
Yeah, I don't remember if that actually made Elon the richest. I swear it made him like second richest or something.
He's up there. Yeah. That's what's important. And every criticism about him is shielded with, like, oh, well, that money isn't just like money you can spend, like, it's shares in a company. And then he does this, right? Because, like, our really fucked up system means that rich people can just borrow against their, shares in a company, so they don't have to give up control. They'll just pay it back whenever they want to because they're rich. And they still don't have to pay taxes on that because it's a loan. Mm-hmm. So it's like, great system we have here. And also the fun part of that is that he's borrowing against the values of his Tesla shares. And Tesla's stock has been going down. So if it goes down far enough, he won't actually have the money he needs to do this. So there's a small chance this could all fall apart in like 2 months, but we'll see.
Well, all depending very heavily on how quickly they proceed through with the purchase, which of course is a big key thing to remember. This purchase is not actually done. We have formal agreements from all parties, but this is sort of like agreeing to buy a house where you haven't really done all the paperwork yet. Basically everything could still get crashed at any moment. The house could
Yeah.
burn down, and someone could be like, "Nah, don't want it anymore," and yeah, that could still very much happen. Which, for what it's worth, Twitter kind of seems like it's burning down right now. There are a lot of people abandoning Twitter. Not necessarily percentage wise is it significant, but the
Right.
numbers are not by themselves insignificant.
Yeah, and let's try. You know, his thing that he's been going on about is that he doesn't think Twitter is as pro free speech as he thinks it should be, which is just the dumbest fucking take. I thought we moved past this. At least if you're not just like full on it, like Musk tries to not be just a right wing grifter person. Like he's done, like I don't like him, but like he has done some things that are a net plus for civilization. Very few, but still. But like he's going on with the same free speech talking point as like every right wing grifter that gets banned from Twitter and Facebook and so on. And it's so silly because like that can't exist in an online platform, really, because when it comes down to like, why do you want free speech, right? What explicitly are you saying that is getting you banned from Twitter? And it's always some combination of like racism or sexism or, you know, one of the isms, or just straight up spamming people. And
well, harassment, threats, in some cases actual organizing of terrorist activity,
right. And that's the problem, and that's why there's a fixed life cycle for all of the right wing social networks, where they either don't have free speech for long, or they get shut down. This always happens because when you let all the terrible people and opinions stay on the platform, you know, like we already know, like all of these platforms are little, you know, like bubble chambers,
echo chamber,
yeah. And like it keeps building, and that's the problem, is that when you start with like, oh, I don't like this group of people, and you get enough people going along with that, then it escalates to, we should do something about this group of people. And then it keeps escalating, and then you get like a school shooting, or people storming into the Capitol building, you know, like that kind of stuff. And then it's like, okay, and then people die, and then you need someone to, you need a cause for that. You need, it's like, why did, like, was it 5 or 6 people die on January 6th? Like, why did that happen? Oh, it's because there's this place where this group of people have been threatening violence for months or years. And then it's like, okay, so now we can point the finger at the person who was running the platform. We can point the finger at the company hosting their servers. We can point the finger at their domain registrar. And then it all comes crumbling down.
Yeah.
So like, you can't have a free speech platform because it just devolves into violence.
Well, and you're talking about, I dare say you're kind of talking about free speech in the capacity that the people who want to claim that they have been victims, the way they want to talk about it. Right. And you're explaining on their terms why what they want to do doesn't work. There's also the element where you kind of have to question, like, what does free speech mean in the context of a private company? And we're not talking private as in like taking a company private the way Elon is going to do. It was already a private company that was just traded publicly. But, you know, the thing is, what does it mean to have free speech? There are a bunch of right-wingers, and well, not just right-wingers, let's say radicals, because it would be very disingenuous to say that this is all just quote unquote conservative voices. There are a lot of people banned from various political ideologies. But the thing is, you have a lot of people who they claim that they're being censored. No, you still have an account. Your tweets were still available. You were never banned.
Yeah.
What happened was you posted a bunch of stuff that people felt was spam. They blocked you, and now you're mad you're not being seen by them. You're not censored. You are being kept out. At most, the algorithm is not going to stick you at the top of the list for everyone to see.
Right.
That's not censorship. It's not restricting your free speech. You are just unpopular. No one cares what you say, and you're mad that that's the problem. You're mad that you're not a popular enough person to end up in the automatic, like, everyone sees you list.
Right. Like, I mean, like, the perfect example of that was Babylon Bee a couple months ago, whatever that was, where you know what they are, right?
I remember that account being a thing. Wasn't it like the opposite of Midas Touch, basically?
They're conservative The Onion, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
okay.
Also, if The Onion wasn't funny. Because conservative jokes aren't, like, actually ever jokes. They're just, like, being racist. Like, that's really, like, and they did some joke article.
That's sort of like corporate meme accounts. And Corbin knows that this is another inside joke, but any company that decides to start posting memes that are just poor advertisements for their products, we definitely know who I'm talking about.
Right.
But yeah, that level of quality.
Yeah. So they posted something. I don't remember what I think it was like something about trans people. And they got the thing that, like, Twitter does with shitty people, where they say you can have access to your account back once you delete this tweet that breaks our rules. And, they were like, no, we're not going to delete the tweet. This is censorship, all that nonsense. So, yeah, that's an example of what exactly you were saying is, like, a lot of times, like, Twitter doesn't even, like, crack down on these people. They just, like, give them a little slap. But that slap is enough for them to go wild.
Yeah, they play the martyr over, like, actual terms of service abuses. And it's like, well, first off, they're the company that has the right to set a terms of service. You knew what it was, you violated it, and you're mad that they slapped you on the wrist.
Yeah.
And it's still a slap on the wrist that at any time, all they have to do is admit that they violated the terms of service, retract what it was, and they can resume business as usual and just try to avoid breaking some fairly casual rules.
Yeah. So it's all very, very silly. That's why, like, I, like, tense up whenever anyone says free speech at this point, because it just means I want to say, like, really racist or transphobic things on the internet. That's just what it means at this point. It's like,
depending on who's saying it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, it's kind of like now when I see people on Twitter or Instagram or something with an American flag in their name, like their profile name, like, I think I mean, like, I hate that, like, well, I shouldn't say it got co-opted, because if we're being honest, that flag has not, like, been, like, a super good symbol for a lot of great things. We kind of did some messed up stuff, but,
well,
like,
depending on your perspective, if you just live in this country for many years, it was just not a bad thing in general. If you live here now, like, little over half of this country looks at it and goes, okay, we're not against this symbol, but man, right, people who take it too far, we're against them, and we cringe every time we see it now. And then if you lived outside of the US, chances are you just saw that flag and were like, oh, please don't travel to our country. We like tourists from anywhere else.
Yes. Yeah. So again, like everything this man says is complete nonsense. I think he needs to try to focus on building a car that isn't horribly out of shape and broken when it comes out of the factory. I think that's a better thing to focus on, or just give that up and make some cool rockets. He's, SpaceX is making some cool rockets. Just do that. You can just support the military industrial complex. You can just do that and leave everything else alone.
Or just, build a new PayPal, which is the thing that originally made him rich.
He didn't even build PayPal.
No,
he joined after. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, more like I did see not The Onion, but sites like The Onion were doing a post future founder of Twitter, Elon Musk. It's very funny.
So also I want to specifically kind of call up Joe Rogan's cringy take. There's a video circulating.
No.
Did I post this to RambleCast?
Don't make me look at Joe Rogan. I've been through so much this week.
Okay, I didn't post it to my RambleCast. I posted it to your Discord server. Anyway, there was this video, and how did I phrase it when I posted it? Everything about that video made me think that Joe Rogan wants Elon Musk inside of him. Here's the thing. There is such a crazy fan level of obsession between Rogan and Musk.
It's the same cross section of people. Yeah.
Well, I'm not even talking cross section of people. I mean, Rogan has a fandom toward Musk. But yeah, same cross section of people too. But one of the things that really stood out to me is as Rogan started talking about Twitter, he went on this tirade about things like shadow banning. And well, specifically, he called out shadow banning. He mentioned a few other things too, but he starts complaining about shadow bans. And as I'm hearing this, in the back of my head, I'm going, dude, have you never been on the internet? Do you not understand? Shadow bans are the normal. And it's not a censorship thing. It's literally, hey, here's a person who is going out of their way to cause a problem. They cause problems because they get a reaction out of it. We're shadow banning this person so that they won't get a reaction anymore and they'll get bored and go away. You can look at that as being censorship. That's a way to look at it, but realistically, this is just standard crowd control. This is moderation to avoid trouble. And sometimes that needs to happen because there are people who are just trolls. There are people who are just trying to rage bait everyone around them. And it's not a free speech is good when there's people who are trying to have quality discussions. Free speech is not good when there are people whose only purpose is to disrupt a conversation and be non-helpful. Yeah. Disruption is fine in some ways, but disruption for the purpose of just stopping a conversation that is trying to be in a good place. This is just a bad person or a person trying to do a bad thing. Go ahead, shadow ban the bastard. And let's be honest, Musk is not going to look at that as a tool that he won't use. He will absolutely encourage shadow banning like crazy once he's faced with that question.
And yeah, I mean, like you said, just that's kind of just the conservative playbook at this point, and Musk's playbook too, where you don't actually really try to propose, or your goal is to not to make things better. It's just to make people upset. Yeah. It's like the entire Republican Party right now. It's a lot of conservatives. Every time I go to, I think they finally peeled all of them off, but when I was doing a road trip 2 months ago, every single gas station had Biden, I did this stickers on it. It's just to annoy people. So anyway, it's great that he bought that now. And TechCrunch. I'll put this in Ramble, but TechCrunch did a great article. This yesterday. No, it's from today. So I'll put this in, and they looked at some major Twitter accounts, and they noticed that a lot of political people on the general left lost a lot of followers, and a lot of people generally on the right side of the political spectrum gained a lot of followers. And Twitter did confirm that like this isn't bot accounts or any kind of like automated activity. This is like people I'm going to say rational people closing their accounts, and not rational people,
let's say concerned citizens.
Okay. And terrible people coming back to Twitter in anticipation that they will get to do whatever they want. So I think specifically TechCrunch said Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a congressperson from Georgia, which continues to embarrass my state of birth more than I thought was possible. Not that Georgia had a shining light of the standard, but
I feel at this point we're getting closer and closer to being able to say she's probably still currently a congressperson in Georgia.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
Remember, she is currently in a court case that could actually strip her of that freedom. So
yeah, and yeah, so she TechCrunch mentioned the day before the Twitter deal was announced, she had 539,000 followers, and now she has over 660,000. Mm-hmm. Other right-wing people got similar boosts. They mentioned that former President Obama lost 30,000 followers. Katy Perry lost more than 200,000 followers. So, like, there's definitely a trend here, and Twitter did say it's not bots. This is like actual, like, bad people coming back or joining for the first time, and everyone else starting to reconsider their choices.
So
and that's not including like what I'm sure is an even bigger number, which is people who just like didn't, they had an account, they came back.
Yeah. So regarding that alone, I know Twitter has their ways of kind of identifying to some extent bot accounts, but I think it is fair to acknowledge this is one of those things where bot accounts are not quitting on any sort of idealistic or moral reasons. So the number of lost accounts, that is probably at least in the realm of 99% very real people. Zach, yeah. Very coincidentally, I scrolled, as Corbin said the words, bad people are coming back, I just happened to scroll down to Matt Gates' tweet, which was just beautifully timed. But yeah. Realistically, all those people who left Twitter, it's not bot accounts. It is very close to 100% very real people who left. Whereas some percentage of new accounts, new followers, new whatever, you can pretty safely bet, and I'm not saying it's a huge percentage. Twitter presumably thinks it's not bot accounts, but some percentage is bot accounts. Not that matters that much, but it will speak to the thing that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But go on. I don't think I cut you off, but if I did, keep going.
I don't think so. That's basically it. And of course every other the one well, why don't you make your point and then I'm gonna pivot and then I'm gonna leave speaking.
Okay. So one of the things that stands out to me, and this is kind of going to the repercussions for Twitter itself. I know Twitter probably doesn't, well, we don't know for sure yet if Twitter is still going to have a board after Elon Musk takes over. We don't really know what the structure of the company is going to look like. But one of the things that technically is going to have a bit lower importance is the two questions that they have asked in the past, which is, or sorry, the two responsibilities that every CEO has had and kind of not appeased anybody with, which is one, how does this company make money, and two, how do we grow followers or grow users? And on that second thing, I think it's debatable, but I think it could be very reasonably argued that Twitter was approaching its maximum user level. Obviously, there are new people born every day, new people growing old enough to start using Twitter. But for the most part, I think Twitter was approaching that point of sort of max capacity.
Right, like Netflix.
It kind of, yeah. You know, if you weren't already a Twitter user and you didn't just grow old enough to start using Twitter, you probably were never going to start. And at this point, like that was pretty much the cap that they were hitting. Now, when you consider that, now consider they just lost. We don't know what percentage, but we know they just lost a lot of people. And that's just in the first 2 days. There will be more people. I mean, like I said, I'm not making any big proclamations about, oh my god, I'm going to leave Twitter. But I'm kind of getting to the point I want to. I've never been a fan of Twitter. I've just liked the ideological potential of it. But now I'm not seeing a whole lot of reason to stick around if they're probably going to do away with a lot of their anti-harassment features. They're probably going to invite a lot of people who are very much the harassers.
Yeah, like one of the big questions now, and I think I saw another article from TechCrunch where they were reporting on some leaked audio from an all hands meeting at Twitter, but the original source of that was Project Veritas, which makes me very skeptical because they have a very strong tendency to edit things. Yeah, a lot, either just completely lie or just like edit everything out of context. But they probably don't like really need to lie all that much about this situation. I'm sure it's bad enough, but like it's. Like one of the questions that like they brought up in that meeting supposedly, and another question that keeps getting brought up in other places is like, is Musk gonna let Trump back? Because it's like probably the most high profile ban Twitter's ever done, and Trump has said he doesn't want to come back. I don't really believe that.
Neither do I.
No, he like when he was on Twitter, he was like addicted.
Yeah.
And like he doesn't even use his own platform that he spent millions of dollars building, and by building I mean they downloaded Mastodon.
Yeah,
but still that's a lot of money for him to not use it, even though most of the people are there under the assumption that he would use it. So you know, he might do that, I don't know, but
well, for one, I'm pretty confident Musk will absolutely invite Trump back. I don't know that means much beyond inviting him back, but yeah, I'm pretty confident that the invite will be made, and whether or not he tries to bring Trump back in any appreciable way, we'll see. But even so, does that really move the needle enough? Is this not just going to you know, it's not like it's giving Trump more voice. It's not giving him much more access. It's just the exact same crap that he's already doing, just somewhere else.
Yeah, he's sending emails to like the New York Times about why he's angry about Biden. And then the New York Times keeps writing it. Really wish they'd like figure that out. That's like another problem we need to deal with. It's like, hey guys at major legacy papers, you don't need to publish every opinion piece or everything a Republican says. You just need to like limit that. But anyway,
well, you don't need to limit them. You're free to ignore things.
Yeah, they don't matter. Yeah, they don't matter.
You'll ignore plenty of other stuff. You don't need to pay attention to everything these guys say either. It's not censorship. It's just not giving a fuck what they're saying.
Those hate clicks must be there. That's my only.
Yeah, honestly,
that's my only
I think
assumption.
that's exactly it.
But yeah, and like the other, I will say the really surprising thing about this situation for me is how much Mastodon is taking off. Like this happens every single time Twitter does something bad. There's some amount of like where do I go, and then a couple people bring up Mastodon. Like I know when Tumblr cracked down on like anything resembling sexual content, Mastodon got a huge boost. Every time Twitter screwed up and banned a lot of people for a silly reason, Mastodon got users. But this time they're getting a lot, and it's staying a lot. Like I saw the
I don't want to totally argue with that because it is definitely true, but we're still in the 2 days later stage.
Right.
So
yeah,
it is still a little too early to make any presumptions. Let's be honest. Google Plus held on for a very long time, and actually was successful for a very long time before the real like jumping ship started.
Yeah, and like the total of new users to Mastodon as a platform in the past 2 days is around 100,000, and obviously Twitter has like probably over, I don't know how many active users they have at this point, but it's in the millions for sure. So it's still a small thing, but as someone who's seen like repeated exoduses from other social media platforms to Mastodon, this one is it's more general, right? Like all the previous bans have been like targeted at specific groups of people. Like the main one from Tumblr a couple years ago was mostly like artists, like people who would occasionally draw something with a nipple in it, and Tumblr said you can't do that anymore here. So they all went to Mastodon, but like that's not like a representative group of like everyone who uses a certain platform, right? This one feels more general. Again, like it's hard to get a gauge on this, and obviously it's still, a lot of it is still people with some elevated, like any sort of feeling. Like there's still not. I don't think there's a lot of like quote unquote normal people yet, but like it's more general, and it's a lot. And also, most importantly, nothing has happened yet. This is all preemptive, right? Like every time before there's been a push like this, it's because a new guideline went into effect, or there was a mass ban of these people or something like that. But like Twitter hasn't done anything yet. So the fact that this is happening really preemptively, the purchase hasn't even gone through yet. That says a lot.
Yeah. Well, so which that is actually to me one of the funniest things is, depending on who you listen to, some people are convinced Elon is already like fully taken the helm. For example,
I don't think anyone knows how like purchases of businesses work.
No, clearly,
like I don't even really know.
Yeah, clearly this is, oh man, we see this so often in tech. One of the classic examples that, of course, we all know this now, but go back to the classic, like, a phone would come out, everyone would see it and go, oh my god, such and such thing sucks, we hate this. And then the following year, the same thing would still be in the next generation phone. And everyone's like, what's wrong with them? Why didn't they learn from the last one? Well, the answer was because design of that phone had started 6 months before the previous phone even came out. And of course, the companies didn't have time to turn around and throw out or redesign this whole thing. Now, of course, a lot of that has now changed, and the design process does take less time, and they can turn around and make corrections if they're figured out early enough. But yeah, people don't know how corporate purchases take, or how they operate either. Elon has made the offer, they've accepted it, and presumably he has had at least a little bit of ability to weigh in. Whether or not that has resulted in any decisions, whether or not any actions have been taken, nobody knows for sure, except people at Twitter. Yeah. What everyone can say with confidence is he is not the current owner of Twitter. Therefore, unless they have made the unilateral decision to hand him the reins, which I kind of doubt they have, I have a strong feeling that that's probably just not the way it is yet. He's probably not calling any real shots yet. However, if you go on Twitter, you will find it was actually trending. Ivermectin was a trending topic for a while. And it was because a bunch of right-wingers had all gone on there, and they made they were trending because they were saying ivermectin works. They were saying Biden lost the election, like all these different things, and making a big show of, hey, am I going to get banned for saying this? No. Look at that. Elon has already changed Twitter. And it's like, right. You jackasses. You've been saying this for months. Actually, now literally years in a couple of these cases. You weren't getting banned before for saying it. You weren't going to get banned today for saying it. You're creating a false narrative for yourselves. You're like, this is Reddit circle jerking at its finest.
Yeah. And yeah, Zach mentioned in the chat, I was legitimately surprised by how well Mastodon runs. Usually these alternative services have breaking issues, a lot of missing features, bad mobile experiences. Yeah, like this is the other thing where, like, I've definitely, like, this is just an open source software thing, right? Where like the alternative is always like, it looks like it wasn't like, no, there were no designers involved, because, you know, usually it's like, you know, like my stuff where I'm just making it in my spare time and I'm not hiring anyone else, or I don't have a design degree or whatever.
Kind of like this live stream.
Yeah. Yeah. But like Mastodon's actually, it's pretty good. Like they've, you know, it's been under active development since 2016. So they've had time to work out a lot of issues. There's still issues. It's still a little bit of a hurdle compared to a centralized thing like Twitter or Instagram. But it's pretty good. And like perfect timing, the official Android app for Mastodon just went up like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So that's pretty good timing. The iOS app has been available for like a year. And besides that, there's like a bunch of third-party apps that are actually good, because unlike Twitter, Mastodon has a really good API. Like, and it's obviously the same API that like their official apps are using. Mm-hmm. So it's not like Twitter where all the third-party apps don't have anything implemented after like, you know, 2015 or whatever. So like it's a pretty mature platform at this point. And
would you bring up an interesting point, just to stick this in really quick? I am very curious if we're going to see Twitter suddenly reverse some of those policies. I bet we don't. That's the kind of stuff Elon is not going to champion. I
don't think there being other apps will really move the needle at all for Twitter.
Not anymore.
And honestly, I think they'd be inclined to go the other way, because one of the other takes I've seen pop up in a few different places is that Elon's gonna need to make money with Twitter after losing all of his money to buy Twitter. And there's probably, like, we're in kind of a little, again, I'm not an economics person, but like we're kind of sort of in a recession right now, or inflationary period. There's probably going to be a bigger recession happening soon-ish.
Every analyst says so.
Right, according to people who like actually know what they're talking about, not me. But and what happens when there's a recession? Not a lot of advertising spending.
Yeah.
And guess what Twitter relies on for most of its revenue?
Well, a lot of people have a theory Twitter is going to start exploring other means of making
Right.
money. And I don't doubt that
You
for a
get
second.
more free speech with Twitter Blue.
Yeah. Um,
You can say the N-word once a month with Twitter Blue.
are you kidding? Once a month? I'm thinking they're gonna turn it to like once an hour. But
Well, that's the Twitter Blue Plus, Cody.
oh, good point. Yeah, multiple
Yeah.
tiers. I forgot. And let's not forget.
It's like the movie rating system, right?
Well, don't forget that they're gonna have Twitter Blue, the black card, which is like if you're a billionaire, you get special. You can say literally anything you want. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the Mastodon versus Twitter thing. I quickly looked this up. According to some Statista, Twitter had 217 million users. And I think that's probably daily active users, or at least approaching daily active. Twitter's always been really fudgy with their numbers. And Mastodon, according to Y Combinator, they just hit 1 million active users with a total of just shy of 3 million total users across all the servers. So yeah, the numbers indisputably are very, very different. But I think it bears acknowledging this is before a lot of people have started moving over like meme accounts and bot accounts. And when I say bot accounts, I'm not talking like the shady stuff. I'm talking like the actual, in some way, shape, or form, legitimate bot accounts. Kind of like
what I had, right? Like where it's just like memes or something.
Yeah. Reposting memes or I know that people don't necessarily call this a bot account, but like news organizations or websites that use it as just like they pump their content out to Twitter. I think of that as a bot account. None of those have moved over yet, but all it takes is for a lot of them to move. And those numbers will skyrocket pretty fast because there's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch. And also with that number, you also take into account that a lot of that number is people that would not be easily connected on Mastodon, ideally. Right? Like a lot of it is like the really shitty people that are coming back to Twitter. Mm-hmm. That most of the big Mastodon instances, if they're properly moderated, which not all of them are, just ban. Like, there's like they don't want you there. Yeah. And so that would leave you in like the gab of the like federated verse world, where like you're not really connected to anyone else because everyone already knows if you have an account on Gab, you don't need to talk to anyone else. We're good. You can stay over there. So like the numbers from that are kind of like like they can go over there. So it doesn't need to be like a 1-to-1 comparison, but yeah, like there's obviously a climb, and there might be like platform issues when it gets to a certain number. Like they've already the actual like back end of all of this has already changed majorly once. Mastodon used to use I think it was called like, I want to say it was like open status or something, but it was like a really early protocol for this kind of thing, like separated communications. And I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago they switched to a newer API that's actually a W3C standard. So it's like a web standard that's standardized, called ActivityPub, and that's what Mastodon uses now. So it's already gone through one big like backend conversion once. I maybe as more people come on, there might need to be another one of those like transition times. We'll see, because that was like I think like the Twitter CEO Jack and a few other people were either talking about or still working on kind of like something like Mastodon. And they said they already looked at like ActivityPub and everything that Mastodon uses, and they said it couldn't scale.
I was gonna say, it, activity ActivityPub, or formerly known, I believe, as PubHub. I think that was the old name, or something like that.
I don't
Or
know.
RepubHub. I don't know. There was some weird name for it back in the like early. Well, I say early, but in the like
Oh, it
days
was
of blogs
it
talking
was
back
it
and
was
forth to each other.
Activity Pump,
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
the older version was O Status.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong protocol then.
Okay, and O Status was used by like GNU Social, which used to be StatusNet. So there's like a lot of people who have like had accounts at all these places, and they're just like slowly moving back and forth.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, all of these are they're good technologies for what I would call kind of like low scale communication. But yeah, once you reach the point of like literally millions and millions of communications per day, it does seem like this is going to become very hard to manage.
right.
The scalability is going to become difficult, and that's it. Like, one of the things I heard about back when I was in the interview process with Microsoft at one point. Microsoft had the full Twitter feed pumping into it, and they low-key talked about how much of a resource challenge that actually was. It was difficult to index and work through all of that content. And imagine what it's like when you're just trying to run that network off of free servers for a bunch of people who don't want to pay money, and you don't have a good way of making money off of them. Mastodon is going to have some growing pain issues for sure, and its protocols are hungry for resources. So yeah, scalability will be a real issue.
Yeah, so I'm interested, and like also the other cool part of this is that like once you're on an ActivityPub platform, there's other implementations of that aren't Mastodon. That like you like if they're built to spec, then you can like follow people on like the other one I've used a lot is PixelFed, which is Mastodon but it's Instagram. So it's like mostly for pictures. The UI, I think they might have updated the UI, but like they're generally going for like an Instagram feel. But it's ActivityPub, so like I can post something. I got my Mastodon account follows my PixelFed account, so I see when I post a photo and I can retweet it from my Mastodons, and then other people can see it. And people on Mastodon can just follow that directly if they want, and vice versa. So some of the pain here is definitely like Mastodon as a technology has a few issues that like other implementations might not. So it's interesting stuff, and I'm glad more people are trying it. And I'm interested to see not only how much it climbs, but how much of that will stay there, because there's obviously people making accounts now that will log in for like the next 2 weeks and then never go back.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what the dip is, because there's always a very large dip with this.
Exactly. A bunch of people are I don't want to say land rushing. That's definitely not what it is. But a bunch of people are rushing over right now.
It's like reactionary, yeah.
Exactly. The question very much is going to be how many people will stick to leaving Twitter entirely, even if they don't go to Mastodon. How many people will abandon Twitter? And I think that number is also going to be higher than the number of people that stick with Mastodon. Whether or not they find a new place to go, or maybe some of them will tune out. I have this weird feeling in 6 months to a year, maybe less, it could even be 3 months, I bet there are going to be a bunch of sites doing articles about like people people reporting that their mental health has improved since quitting Twitter.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like Twitter is a little bit like a drug where like people might go back just for that feeling. Because like I know definitely a couple times I've been like, yeah, I've seen something on Twitter where I'm like, oh, that makes me mad. I want to see the replies.
Yeah.
And then it's like it's downhill from there. So like you don't really get that on so like it's better. Like
Well,
I guess Mastodon is
get...
like, well, I mean, even if like the bad people come, just the fact that like you can't see all the replies to a post from where like wherever you look at the post from, right? Because like you don't know if like those messages have made it over to your server or not. Like that's part of that problem gone. But yeah, like there is like Twitter's like any you know, it's just like Facebook and Instagram where a lot of the conscious decisions they've made are to keep you engaged for the wrong reasons, right? Like it's all the junk they put in the search page that like is not trending or searching or anything. Like it's just things that it knows you're interested in, you will click on.
Yeah, like I can't tell you how many times GitHub has shown up as a trending topic.
Oh
I
yeah,
click on
yeah,
it and it's
yeah.
like, wait, there's like I'm looking at it and it's like in the first like 10 results, like half of them are from days ago. This isn't trending. Yeah. What are you guys talking about? There's no trend here. But yeah, on that point, and definitely in agreement, and this is also why I think Mastodon is going to have trouble, is because there isn't a trending topics section. Like when I go to Twitter, well, 9 times out of 10, I'm not even looking at the people I follow. I'm looking at the trending topics because I'm just curious, like what is currently trending. This is part of my news intake, and I don't read comments that much, which helps.
There is and also like some of these are things that Mastodon just hasn't like implemented, and other things are like the main developer has said like this is a conscious decision, we're not doing this. Like they've definitely said we're not doing quote tweets on Mastodon, which like I mostly agree with. Like that ends up just causing more harm, I think. Where like it is helpful in a lot of cases, but also like that is the main avenue for like stupid people getting attention. Like you know, like whenever Trump was on Twitter, like just everyone quote tweeting him with like their attempt at dunking him or whatever. It's just amplifying that, right? Not that you need to amplify the president of the United States, but like on other cases too, right? So it's, you know, like how many times have you seen a tweet that's just like someone taking a screenshot or quote tweeting like Marjorie Taylor Greene or whoever?
Well, I don't disagree. That is giving sort of unreasonable amplification to a given message, but at the same time, this is one of those things, and man, I apologize. Like there's so many ways, and there are probably better examples I could use, and I'm apologize for using the one I'm going to have to use because it is inherently so political, but it's kind of the classic, like, who's to blame for like mass shootings? Do you blame the guns or do you blame the people? Well, quote tweets are a tool that people are misusing, but does it mean you should take away the tool or stop people from using them wrong? And yeah, to me, quote tweets, it's a very useful functional thing if you just aren't using the worst example of it as the example of why you shouldn't have it.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of see both versions of this, but I kind of wish the answer were, let's find a way to stop you from misusing it, not take away the tool entirely.
Yeah. And like Mastodon does have kind of a trending thing. It'll show like, I think just the first like top 3 results. So like yesterday I saw the
it does.
And also, and the interesting thing with Mastodon is I was trying to figure this out because I know they were experimenting with like better search stuff with Elasticsearch, but that was like an optional thing because like not every server admin also wants to set up, you know, Elasticsearch engine or whatever. But I think it's still an intentional thing where like you can't search a word that is not like in a hashtag, and like their thinking is like, if you don't want your post to be like discovered by randos or whatever, then that fixes it. Because like this is also a thing on Twitter, right? Like you go, you know, if you're a awful person no one wants to be around, you go searching for like, I don't know, like, you know, people with pronouns in their bio, and you go harass them, right? So the hashtag here is used as like a almost like a, you can interact with me if you're a rando checkbox, sort of, if that makes sense. Which I think is good. I will say though, like a lot of my work involves like doing very specific Twitter searches for phrases that like I'm looking for like just people who weren't intending to be like to announce something, really. Like if I'm trying to figure out like, okay, who's having reception issues on T-Mobile today?
Ironically, wow, what timing for Corbin's connection to suddenly cut out. But yeah, I'll reinforce this. Just a few months ago. Okay, you're back.
Yes.
That was so perfect. You talked about connection issues, and immediately, like literally as those words left your mouth, that's exactly when it cut. So I'll let you finish.
So like for me, that's for my work, that's unhelpful. But from the perspective of like protecting a person on this platform, which is what Mastodon's trying to do, like I get it. And also it's created kind of this interesting dynamic where using trends and everything on Mastodon is like time machine Twitter. It's like, oh, we're using hashtags again, right? Like this is fun. Like I'm gonna just, I'm gonna post pictures of my dog with, like hashtag for Friday or whatever. Back in the days where all the Twitter trends were just like Justin Bieber related, and like Catter Day, on Saturday people would post pictures of their cat on that. So it is a little bit of like a trip there, and it's less helpful for my work, but I get it.
Yeah, I honestly cannot remember what it was that I was looking up, but there was definitely something from I want to say it was probably about 4 or 5 months ago. I specifically went on Twitter and I searched like 20 different very precisely phrased things in hopes that I would find people complaining about or bringing up something or demonstrating that they had or hadn't seen something. And it was only through getting it exactly right that I found a couple of examples that also kind of proved that what I was looking for was legitimate.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing, is with Twitter, that was realistic and it was achievable. It's not really a thing you can do on Mastodon, and that does kind of suck. But
yeah, it sucks for people like us, but also they're like Cambridge Analytica, where it's like, okay, I see why we've done it.
Except right? Cambridge Analytica has the resources to just search each instance where
yes. Now, again, the other thing here is, I guess maybe there'll be a wave of people using Google for this. I don't know if like by default posts on Mastodon instance. First of all, I don't know how Google indexes them, and also I don't know if they're like intentionally hidden from search engines or not. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, but one way or another, I have a funny feeling one of the things that's going to emerge from this is there are going to be sort of, I'm going to call them meta servers for Mastodon that are probably going to start indexing and reading through a ton of different toots. That was the term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they're going to start figuring out their own trending topics across servers and just posting it there. It'll be kind of like Dig or Reddit or any of the other servers. Basically, they are the central. They're the central point for all of the blogs out there, and there will be a couple of sites that become the central point for things happening on Mastodon. assuming Mastodon gets enough critical mass to matter.
There's already kind of sort of this. I've seen a lot of accounts that are just bots that are like hosted on a given server, and their job is just to follow like most of the accounts they find. So then the home server that they're on has more like posts fed into it. So then you get better representation of like what's actually trending and that kind of thing.
I mean, that's great, but it sounds like it's just breaking the way that Mastodon is supposed to work.
Yeah,
and ultimately going to just clutter up the system a whole lot.
Yeah. It's almost like you need some kind of central authority for a trending topic.
Shocked, I tell you.
That's crazy.
But because let's be honest, all the Mastodon instances could just share their data in a more
a centralized way, code.
No. I was gonna say in a more efficient format. So instead of like sharing the way that they currently do with basically like a post at a time, like transmit huge batches of data, and then each one could basically own it, which shockingly sounds a little too much like crypto.
Yeah, this is the other thing that like makes me happy about Mastodon, where like I've become so desensitized to the word decentralized. Like it just doesn't mean anything anymore, or like it's decentralized in like the worst possible way that's harmful for everyone involved. But like this is like, no, it's just like you make a server and that's it, you're done. You did it, good job. We're not, no one, there's no Mastodon GPU farms.
Yes.
Although, there are, a lot of instances that probably need a not insignificant amount of server power. But it's not like it's not going to waste for fake money. You got that to look forward to.
That being said, the mere fact that a lot of them were kind of crumbling under the weight of having tens of thousands of new users in a day, like the mere fact that is dragging them to a crawl is a pretty good sign that they're not running huge server farms. This is still running on pretty lightweight builds.
Yeah, like a lot of these people are doing it on like their $20 Linodes.
Yeah,
that's what I was doing for a while. I had an instance on a $5 Linode, which was fine except when the Mastodon server just memory leaked like nobody's business. So like every week I'm like, oh, my server's down, time to reboot the Linode.
Yeah.
And then like something kind of broke and I didn't know how to fix it because I don't know how SQL works. So I was like, all right, I'm done. That's a fun experiment.
I often forget people don't know how SQL works.
I don't want to learn.
I thought you knew. Just from the tinkering I know you did with AP's backend, though I know you didn't do a lot with that, but I thought you did do a little toying around.
I've very rarely crossed into backend development. Hasn't really come up.
Short version, SQL powerful, SQL annoying. I say that as having been a I think 4-time TA for a databases class when I was in college. I loved SQL, but I hated SQL. Even in contract development work, man, I wrote so much SQL.
I do like running servers for some stuff. Like I've hosted many a Minecraft server, and when I feel like I like mostly understand it, it's fun. Especially because like I feel like I'm like providing a service. Like I'm like, all right, friends, time to join my Minecraft server that I'm hosting because none of you other people know how to make one. And then it's like, oh wait, Mastodon does what now? It needs how many dependencies? How many? Yeah, so that's fun.
Yeah, which also is kind of, I swear that is the current curse of open source software, is like the dependency bloat has been extremely high with open source software the last several years.
Yeah, I think Mastodon now is, I think it's mostly Ruby. And I know they use like, again, like if you set up text search on your, or like a different, I don't know if it's like text or whatever it is, but if you have the enhanced search, then you got to plug in Elasticsearch, which is something else. But yeah, if I go to I'm on the Mastodon GitHub, and it's 60% Ruby, 27% JavaScript, and then there's some Docker files in here, so I guess you can set it up with Docker. I think that might have been what I used, but yeah, so mostly Ruby. And I don't know how to do Ruby, so
I'm actually toying with learning, because it seems like there's a lot of Ruby work to be done out there.
At least it's not PHP.
Oh god, I know. It's weird. I actually like writing in C, but PHP is just, oh god, it is a step too far into the stupidity of everything. It is such a bad language.
I don't like PHP. I'm like kind of mediocre on it. I have one project that I'm using a somewhat decent amount of PHP. It's like still like under 500 lines of code, like in its entirety, so it's not big. But I am doing more stuff in PHP, and I hate that it's so, the setup is insane. Like, just like you got to get a working local server. You got to make sure you have like all the different like packages or package aliases that PHP wants or that you want to use. So then it's like, all right, great, I'm gonna like set up a Docker just to have all this in one place. So I don't have to do this again, and then you have to deal with that. It's not good.
Also, man, so many versions of PHP have broken old versions of PHP. It is not the best sustained language, or best maintained language.
My one project I have in PHP is it's called Image Share, and I originally made it as just a replacement for the image uploader web app on the Nintendo 3DS. But I've also made it work kind of more generally. But its main purpose is still to like upload screenshots from a 3DS to another image host. So right now I'm using Imgur or Imgur. I don't know how you say that.
I always say Imager.
Yeah, but
because I know it's one of those things where it doesn't translate to how it's spelled, but man, it just feels like that should actually have like a word sound to it, not just a stumble of sounds. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm using PHP there because number one, like the main operation is file uploading. So it's just like that's like maybe what PHP was intended for in its most basic form, is handling file uploads. And also the I don't know if you can believe this, Cody, but the web browser on the 3DS doesn't have the latest JavaScript APIs. So the more you can do on the server side, the better for everyone involved.
Yeah.
So so like it is like kind of mildly fun messing with it, because I do have it now where there's no JavaScript whatsoever in the entire thing. So I did pull it up to like see if it would work on my Power Mac with Netscape Navigator installed, and it does technically work. The only reason it didn't work is that the Mac saves screenshots in the picked format. Oof. Which I don't know how to do anything with, but like if I use like a PNG, it did work. So that's fun to mess with, and it's part of that is also just it's fun to occasionally like work on these like decrepit legacy systems and try to get something functional.
I feel like decrepit legacy system is what it somehow, some way, the letters PHP should stand for that.
Yeah. But like there's other stuff where like I found out that there's a new 3DS, which is what I have, and then there's the original 3DS, and I don't have an original anymore. I only have the new. So I was asking someone to try it on the old one, and I found out that the new 3DS browser that I have understands the meta tag that sites have now, where it's like, I think it's like scaling equals 1 or whatever, where it says like render the page at the resolution of the device. So like this is, that's what like modern websites use, so they don't go into like the desktop mode. when you go to them, right? They're supposed to scale. So the new 3DS understands what that is. Old one does not. The only way to get like proper scaling is to set that to the exact value of the 3DS screen. So then, so now in PHP, I'm like changing the meta tag based on the user agent. So it's like all this fun stuff. But yeah, so that's the one thing I use in PHP because I there's not really JavaScript on the 3DS. And also it's fun to get it working on things that don't have JavaScript. So that's what I'm using it for. I did look into like doing a different server-side language for that, but it would kind of be a lot of work, so I haven't done that yet. I do know that like hosting a web service with Google Dart is a thing. Like you can use Dart in the place of PHP sort of, but then you have to build like an extra stack on top of that or use a framework to like operate in the same manner that PHP is, where like it knows what like user it's doing and like it stays on that same thread. So that'd be a lot of work, so I haven't done that.
Yeah.
PHP's fun. Like at a base, I'm just uploading an image file to somewhere else. That's what PHP was meant for. So it's fine.
Okay. So, really quick, staying on the topic of Twitter, but sort of sidestepping a little. It was revealed... Oh, wait. Was this from... When did this come... Where did this come from? Somewhere in the last week, somebody figured out that Twitter's planned edit button will apparently allow tweets to be editable for 1 hour. Any thoughts?
Okay. I mean,
my stance, good enough.
That's fine. If you don't catch your typos in under an hour, like just delete the tweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have an issue with deleting the tweet in the first place because usually it takes a while for anyone to see anything I post. So
I all too often I've typed something out, I don't spot the typo before I hit the button, and I'd like to go back and fix a typo.
Yeah.
And usually within the first 5 minutes. Would anything possibly slip after an hour? Yeah, 100%. But I think I would catch most stuff within the hour. It's okay. Like the worst this is gonna leave is your drunk tweets are not gonna necessarily get fixed in time. Like that's about it. It's okay.
So I'm gonna Cody, we have breaking news for the RambleCast.
Oh.
And I'll talk about this for like a minute, and then my butt really hurts, so I'm gonna leave. I've been sitting in this chair for too long. So there's Ramble. Writers, I forget how you're supposed to say their name, but Reuters. They said breaking views. I don't know if that's a pun or a typo, but they said breaking views. Elon Musk probably won't buy Twitter.
Oh my god.
So they're reporting
it's a done deal. No, it's not.
Yeah, so they said, I'm trying to find the bit where they're doing the Wall Street Journal thing where there's like 15 more paragraphs than they need. Yeah, so Twitter said on April 25th that it had agreed to sell itself to an entity wholly owned by Elon Musk for $44 billion. The price represents a 38% premium to where Twitter shares closed. Okay, so they're mentioning the biggest issue here is Tesla, the electric vehicles maker. Stock has fallen around a fifth since Musk first revealed his stake in Twitter, partially because Musk may sell shares to fund his new adventure. If Tesla's stock bounces back, likely if the Twitter deal falls away, the $40 billion of recouped wealth would more than make up for the break fee. So, there's a $1 billion fee that he would have to pay if this doesn't go through.
Man, that is a hell of a penalty.
Yeah, and they mentioned China might be an issue because Tesla produces half of its cars there, and China doesn't really like any social media network that is not in China.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Yeah, that might be that. I think they might be stretching there, but they also mentioned that like the European Union is looking into this, which good for them. It's really good that like sometimes we have good government somewhere. And they also mentioned that Twitter's stock is currently trading 11% below his offer price, a fairly widespread for a deal with little antitrust pushback.
So yeah, I was kind of wondering how long it would take before there was at least some sort of regulatory questions and approval issues popping up, because let's be honest, some governments are going to look at this and say, wait a second, we're not 100% sure that this is something that you can just buy, like without at least jumping through some hurdles. Not to mention, Elon still, as far as I'm aware, has not been fully fined or paid off the various fees and penalties for not disclosing his ownership in Twitter stock, for all the things that just kind of he's about to owe a lot of money for. Not that those should have much impact. It's not like those are going to add up to billions of dollars, but you know.
So this is like a commentary. It's like an opinion piece. So this isn't like new news necessarily, but it's a good summary of the obstacles he is going to have, perhaps.
Yeah, I wouldn't count this as a.
No, it's not. It's not like new information. It's just an opinion piece, which I thought it wasn't. I didn't know.
No. It's fair, and this is.
I didn't know this website I'm not going to pronounce correctly did opinion pieces.
No, it's entirely relevant though, because
yeah.
it does point out that as much as this is all being presented as a done deal, there are some ways, maybe not the China thing. The China thing's stupid, but there are some ways in which people or there's still possibilities that none of this will end up going through. Whether it's because he ends up not having enough money for the deal, which he will not be paying any of this money to buy Twitter until, I'm gonna guess, probably at least a couple months from now, because they're gonna have to jump through a lot of hurdles to make all this stuff happen.
And like even if it does go through, Twitter is going to be pretty. I would guess that it's going to be very terrible environment internally for a long time, because they're going to have a lot of, like, I had a friend who brought up that Twitter's employees, like most big tech employees, get paid partially in stocks. Mm-hmm. And when Twitter goes private, they're not going to make any more money. Like, they're going to, get the value of their stocks that they have, but they, that won't be a hiring incentive anymore.
Right.
So if I'm an employee at San Francisco who can choose between working for Google, where I'm probably going to get shares, or working for Twitter, where I'm not going to get shares, and Twitter will have to adjust their pay rates if they want to be close to competitive to make up for that, which is more money, which Elon isn't going to have a lot of after he pays back his, supposedly pays back his loan of, however much money. Mm-hmm. And that's on top of the advertising issues, because we're probably about to go into a recession. So like it, yeah. And again, like, it really seems like Musk is wants to turn Twitter into something kind of like Gab, or all these other right-wing social media networks, which all like internally collapse. Like if not due to, or if not due to regulatory pressure or like the FBI raiding them, like I think it was 8chan or whatever that had that happen to them. Like it's they're they're gonna have issues, and I'm sorry, I lost my point there, but
Okay, I am gonna kind of. Damn. I had my own things I wanted to break in with, and I weirdly my brain sidetracked just as you sidetracked. But I think it is worth acknowledging a pretty big angle on this. Elon has been doing in his lead up to this offer. He has been doing the same thing that Trump did, which is say one thing and then no one knows if he'll actually do it or not. And 9 times out of 10, he won't do it. That's one of the big things here.
I remember what my point was going to be.
Okay.
I was going to say that like all of these right-wing networks, they always get hacked like immediately after they launch.
Yeah.
Because they never hire smart people to run them, because either they're cutting costs because they're not making like advertising money, because shocker, Coca-Cola does not want to advertise on Gab.
Yeah.
Or they're, again, like the grifters will attract other grifters, including like the employees.
Well, also
so it's always
people
people
smart enough to do this kind of work go work at legitimate companies.
Right. Yeah. So like, if Twitter goes down this path, they're going to have to pay more in salaries because they can't give shares to their employees. Probably, they could do like a private share system, but that'd be weird. And then they're also going to have the issue of like, all right, who wants to work at right-wing Twitter, right? Like Facebook is having this problem.
Yeah.
Granted, to a lesser extent, because they have so much money still, and they can like pay a lot of money. But it's gonna have a lot of issues.
Okay, so what I was heading towards saying is Elon Musk has talked up free speech, but we don't actually know he's going to make any changes with regard to this, or is it just a talking point? Kind of like, Trump during his campaign speeches. One of the things, he actually got up and made a speech to a bunch of people saying, "Oh yeah, months ago my advisors came to me and told me say the words drain the swamp. I didn't know what it means. They didn't know what it meant. But they said just say it. And so I said it, and the crowd erupted. They loved it. So I kept saying it. He admitted that he just had some dumb slogan that nobody knew what it meant, but they just made up their own meaning. The thing is, Elon Musk, a guy who is literally famous at this stage, in part for trolling people on Twitter, he says a bunch of stuff that often doesn't have any meaning. He puts, like, it's sort of like putting a Cards Against Humanity black card out there on the table and saying, "All right, everyone, put in your white cards. Let's see which meaning we're gonna go with."
Right.
And a lot of the stuff he says doesn't really have any like, it's the start of a thought, but it's never the end of the thought. And we don't know what he would even do with this. Honestly, I think a lot of the theories about going like full on free speech, I think it's all BS. I mean, don't get me wrong, he might say, "Oh yeah, content moderation is out the door." Like, short of you actually breaking a law, we just don't care. We're gonna allow it. He could do that. I bet he doesn't. That is one of those things that sounds like it could happen. It's not gonna happen. Especially because at a certain point, it's going to have a very direct translation to pocketbook.
Right. That's the only way. Like, all of Musk's opinions and business strategy is very much libertarian unless the government is helping me. So I do think that he probably would like to actually make Twitter have much fewer moderation policies, but I do think, like you said, like he will eventually realize I'm gonna lose this $44 billion on if I go past a certain point. So I don't know. I could see Twitter like staying in like how it is now, but worse, a little bit worse. Where like Twitter right now, like before all this happened, like Twitter had moderation issues. Right, like they allowed people to stay on there way after they should have been gone.
Yeah.
Right, like that. I mean, Twitter straight up said like we didn't ban Trump because he's like the president, and we think it's important for him, like for what he thinks to be public.
Well,
I
that was
don't.
Jack even. Like Jack
Yeah.
was pretty
Yeah.
clearly behind that specific statement.
Right, we're like like every other Trump tweet was like straight up harassing a certain person, which is really against Twitter rules. It's like one of the main things that people get in trouble for. But he was allowed to do it for a very long time, and same with a lot of other government people. And I don't know if it's still true, but like all the representatives of like the Taliban had like verified Twitter accounts too, so like you could make the argument there as well. So
yeah, but they can't verify tech journalists.
I can't get verified, but Trump can. It's very sad.
So I agree. I think no matter what,
You have 5 minutes, Cody, because my butt hurts in this chair.
But I agree. I think no matter what, he's going to scale back on moderation. That is, I think, a foregone conclusion. But I think we already have a good representation of where the line is going to get drawn, and it was YouTube. YouTube, for a very long time, like their moderation was honestly not all that different. YouTube basically said, hey, you can kind of say what you want as long as you don't harass, don't do this, don't do that. But you know, they allowed a lot of stuff on YouTube, and then came the adpocalypse. What happened was a shitload of companies said, look, we don't want ads on this stuff. We don't want to be associated with this stuff. We don't want these things making us look bad. That's going to happen to Twitter. Like, Twitter will lose its advertising revenue in huge proportions if it just becomes a platform of just purely negative crap and people being harassed and like constant fighting. The ad companies will look at this and ultimately, this ad spenders, the ad buyers, whatever, they're going to look at this and say, nah, we hit our limit. We're going to go spend money with Facebook. We're going to go spend money with Google. We're going to go spend money with these other 10 companies. Twitter's just no longer that important to us. Maybe we'll still spend money here, but it's going to be 1/10 of what we spend. And we're going to demand some way to limit where our ads show up. And at that point, your $44 billion investment, which, let's be honest, it's probably today, if he tried to sell it on the spot today, I bet he probably wouldn't even be able to get more than about 35 billion.
It's like a new car.
Yeah.
You immediately drive it off the lot. There's half the value gone.
Well, he just drove away tons of people and invited in, effectively, or, you know, in theory, he invited in a whole bunch of people that any new owner would immediately have to kick out or moderate those people who are going to be huge pains in the ass. It's now an expensive proposition to regain good people, or we'll say good people. We don't know who left, and dealing with the bad ones that came in. So, shocker. Yeah, Twitter is now worth less. It's worth a lot less. And in a couple of years, if Elon's proposed moderation policies don't go well, Twitter's going to be worth way less. And at a certain point, he is going to look at this as not just a loss leader, but like this thing that is dragging down his money. He'll be throwing good money after bad, and he doesn't want to get to that point. This guy is about money. He loves money. So I don't see this being the easy win he might think it is, but I do think that a lot of what he says it's making a promise now that he'll only sort of deliver on, but mostly not, because people love it. People want to hear that he's all about free speech, but he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and again, like, we know he's a hypocrite because he, again, like, all of his political opinion, like, first of all, like, he's not free speech. He's tried to shut down a lot of Tesla critics recently, and again, like, again, like most rich people, he, you know, bitches and moans about government policies and that, like, you know, Biden's ruining everything, whatever. But, like, SpaceX is, like, effectively a government agency at this point. Like, it's run with a lot of subsidies. Tesla is, you know, a lot of the reason people buy electric cars is for a federal tax credit, which I don't know if that exists anymore, but that was, like, a big reason. And also they've got, you know, grants to be in certain states and that kind of thing. So, you know, when you add it all up, like, he's had a lot of government support, but he's still very right-wing libertarian. I mean, they're almost the same thing at this point, but
yeah, the term has been co-opted by the right wing.
You know, so we know that, like, yeah, he's, like, definitely capable of, like, riding the free speech train and then, like, just, like, not doing any of it. So it'd be interesting. I mean, regardless, Twitter, I think also, like, what's kind of not getting talked about is the fact that Twitter was just a dumpster fire way before this.
Yes.
So, like, right, like, you can't have the people that are like, oh, you know, he's gonna ruin it. It's like, no.
It was in a it's been in a strained position for quite a while.
Yeah, Jack was repeatedly made terrible decisions.
He did, and but at least a lot of his decisions came from he was going for an enlightened position, which often was not always in the best place, but he at least had an ideological position that was from a good starting point. It was just not always the right implementation. I will give him credit for at least trying to do the right thing, even if it didn't always work out.
And there's a new CEO, and granted, the new CEO has been there for, like, 4 months, so
yeah,
probably can't, like, judge anything that's happened recently as something of his design.
Yeah, that
because because, like, products take a while to evolve. But, like, one of the first things that happened after he took over was the whole, like, crypto profile integration. So it's like, no, Twitter's just been bad for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have nothing more to say on the subject. I hope Elon eats shit.
So I don't think there's any opinion. I am going to steal 1 minute more time just to point out the
code. I really have to pee now. My butt hurts and I need to leave to pee.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring up the GitHub incident with Twitter's GitHub incident.
Okay, here you go.
So on Monday, I think it was on Monday, GitHub suddenly got under the Twitter account a repository titled The Algorithm. It existed for almost 24 hours. Actually, it might have been closer to 12. But yeah, this has now been removed. So it now gives basically a 404 page, or GitHub's version of it. I'm pasting the link into the YouTube chat. Yep, still there. I'll post it into RambleCast too, just because. But yeah, so it was really funny because an empty repository was posted, and now it's gone. But there's a bunch of theories, my biggest one being, I think some rebellious employees just decide to troll the living crap out of this and make fun of it. I don't know. Nobody's gonna know, but I think this is hilarious, and it probably was not something he had anything to do with.
No, because like we said, like, he doesn't own anything, doesn't really have any say in anything yet.
Right.
So yeah, well,
all
very
right.
Normal company things going on over there right now.
Yeah. So, do you have anything you want to plug before you go?
No. I am. There will be another Tech Tales when I have time to edit.
Yes, it has been recorded.
Yes, I recorded an episode about the hot coffee mod from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which was very funny. That will happen soon, and at some point I'll get Cody to record another. We have at least one, maybe two more Voyager episodes to do.
Are we caught up on the recordings of that, or as in are they
Yes,
posted?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
sure.
The ones you recorded are live. The last one went up Monday.
Okay.
And that was a fun one, right?
Yeah.
Told Cody about how Voyager 2 like almost completely failed before I got to any planets.
Which the entire space program has been a series of we almost failed, but didn't. Yay.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect analogy, because when you think about it, when you orbit around the Earth, you're just falling. But
yeah.
You're falling like sideways.
Yeah. Perpetual failure state that happens to somehow be successful.
Yeah. It's falling with style, as either Buzz Lightyear or Woody put it in Toy Story. I don't remember which said it, but yeah. So listen.
Corbin cuts out just as he's doing the plug. That's good. So yes, listen to Tech Tales.
Yes. And then I should be posting things on How to Geek as early as next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be seeing you probably by Tuesday or Wednesday. Speaking of, we haven't discussed this at all, but are you going to be free for Wednesday RambleCast, or is this gonna?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, same schedule.
All right. I figured, but had to ask.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going now.
All right, man. Well, take it easy, and I will chat with you soon.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Okay. So, let's see. Close that window. And very notably, I'm not going to stick around a whole lot longer. Let's call this the 15-minute marker here. In part because I actually don't have much in the way of other topics. But, yeah, I figured we actually managed to get through that giant Twitter topic, which is hilarious. We almost never get through the actual intended topic of the day. But let's see. So yeah, I want to go eat because I didn't really get to do lunch today. Plus I have a couple of other things I need to get done. So I'm going to keep it relatively short from here. But also, hey David, good having you here. Don't know how long ago you joined, but looks like you've been here not super long. Let's see. David also said Twitter did this to itself. If it was not Elon, it would have been a big VC company or something. Yeah, actually, that's a really solid point. The counter to it, I think, is what would that company have done? And my answer, honestly, I think they probably would have gone through the same BS of like inviting Trump back, maybe inviting a couple of other hot topic characters back, but I bet they would have ultimately left Twitter basically the same in terms of content permitted. But then they would have countered that, like if a big investment corporation or whatever did this, honestly, I think all they would have done is bought it and try to turn it into an ad farm. You know, everywhere you look on Twitter, it would have been all about ads. They would have added a subscription service to turn on features. It's basically what Twitter is now, but it would have just been turn all of the revenue seeking stuff up to 11. You know, kind of like what happened to some news blogs in a way. You know what I'm saying. And I bet there would have been like extra pay to promote tweets, like it really promote, like force stuff in front of people's faces not just fit it into their timelines and things like that. Which honestly, Twitter's already so bloated with sponsored tweets. It's ridiculous. But it is what it is. But as a perfect and unintentional pivot, this happens to bring up the one topic that I had left over, which is this report that Sony and of course Microsoft is also named. They are planning to put ads in games. So this topic that was originally from 2012, maybe earlier, who cares? It's been around for over a decade. Yeah, it's coming back. Oh my god, game companies are going to find ways to jam ads into games. I'm sort of amused by this because it is somehow the topic that every few years it gets covered again and again and again. And what keeps happening is game developers end up, instead of like just jamming ads into games, which still happens, like obviously it still happens, what they end up usually doing is making a lot more money by creating like really dedicated specific collaborations. For example, the Final Fantasy thing with the Noodle Company, I think that was Final Fantasy 15 or whatever. They create stuff, make a lot more money in the upfront, and it just lives on as a stupid thing in the game. Or you have things like Fortnite, where honestly Fortnite just kind of every once in a while would set up a collaboration with like Lil Nas X, or some company wants to promote a thing, so they charge a whole bunch of money. All the players are exposed to this for a couple of weeks, and then it just goes away. This has already happened. The difference, I think, and they don't give a lot of details, this is a really short post, I mean, it all fits on one screen, but this is, I suspect, the exact same thing that was discussed many years ago, where in theory what they're going to do is like have, I don't know, racing game where a video ad plays on a billboard, or you're going to walk past TVs that are in a store window and hey, lo and behold, there's actual ads instead of the ads that the game would have generated, or the game developers would have generated. Does anybody feel like this is new? That's kind of the thing. And I know that this almost is a topic saying that it's not a topic, but it just gets me that this is one of those things that just keeps resurfacing every few years. All of a sudden, game developers are the console makers and developers are purportedly going to start pushing ads through their games, and then it kind of never happens. But it does happen, just not that bad. And gamers get outraged and say, oh my god, if they start doing this, I'm never going to play such and such company's games again. In the few instances where this stuff did happen, I've never heard of any gamers suddenly turning around and saying, oh no, this is terrible, we're quitting. No, you ignore the ads just like you did on websites, just like you did everywhere else. And in a few instances, I'm assuming, I don't know if this is the case, but I'm betting in a few instances you probably are using something like, or could use something like NextDNS to even block the ads you don't want to see. This is all stuff that is very not that difficult, but people get so up in arms about it. And again, it is kind of, it's almost a way of rage baiting gamers, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's one of those things. And if Kirby's here, I'm kind of curious. Though anyone else, you're welcome to chime in. Do you even care about this? Like, do you think that it's that big of a deal if advertisements become a thing in games in a more like a more obvious way? So It's funny because The Verge even says, like, in-game ads are expected to launch by the end of the year and would appear in inconspicuous places within the game, like billboards. I bet we could literally go back to 2012 and find an article written by some site that has a virtually identical sentence. Because this is exactly what everyone was talking about a decade ago. Let's see. Players could also get rewards for watching advertisements. You know what's funny? How much that's already been a thing. The ads would be sold through a private marketplace. Whoops. That's not new. Insider, let's see. Sources told Insider that Sony hasn't yet decided if it would take a portion of ad revenue, but is considering having developers and publishers pay for consumer data. Fun fact. If they're arranging it, they'll definitely take a portion. If they're not arranging it, probably not. But yeah, they're gonna want to arrange it because this is a big money source. Anyway, so yeah, this kind of thing, it's something that it's been talked about for years. It keeps not really happening in a big way because honestly, I think it's because the companies like Sony and Microsoft haven't really been that invested in trying to make it work. Because they know it doesn't make the game better. And a lot of gamers are pretty skilled at ignoring ads at this point. Like, that's kind of a thing. Gamers do not have the attention span for the ads. Meanwhile, like I talked about with Stadia, one of my big theories with Stadia, and I'm truly genuinely shocked this never happened. I thought Stadia was going to maintain that their free tier would be ad supported. I figured that they were going to work with game developers, and during like loading screens and stuff like that, you would just get like a video ad, something that effectively would be served off of YouTube. It would just happen during loading screens. You'd get like a 10-15 second ad, and that would have made some money. It wouldn't be huge, but it would make money. And because it's a game, especially a loading screen in a game, people are sort of stuck waiting. They're waiting for the game to actually load, but they're not going to. So they're not going to leave. They're not checking out. But at the same time, if you make it short enough, quick enough, whatever, people will sit there. They won't necessarily engage or care about the ad, but they're a lot more likely to watch that than they would something on TV. The thing is, though, I don't know if you get that same sort of result if you just stick an ad on a billboard, or if you put it into like the TVs in a shop that your character walks past, things like that. I don't think that translates to the same sort of attention span or engagement. Maybe it will, I don't know. But if I were going to do this, actually, what would I feel like if I were going to do this, one of the things I would actually want to do is work with game developers. Okay, tell me that this isn't the better idea. Work with game developers. Basically say, like, come up with an experience for us. It can be something as generic as a billboard, or like, do you have a mechanic in the game that would be interesting, that advertisers might want to pay to be a part of that mechanic? And the thing that immediately comes to my mind is anyone who remembers that stupid hacking game in Cyberpunk 2077. It's bad. Like, does anybody disagree? The hacking game in Cyberpunk is actually like kind of not a good experience. And it's not because it's like hard or bad. It's just not that fun or interesting. Imagine if they figured out some other mechanic and basically said, hey, if you're an advertiser, do you want to be a part of this? If so, we designed a thing that you can pay to have your product somehow or your ad somehow integrated into this mechanic in the game. It would cost more. Like, it's going to cost a lot more. But imagine how much more money that would bring in, how much better of an advertising scenario that is. And as long as it's not done too cheesy, because let's be honest, avoiding really cheesy stuff is kind of hard in this case, but if you can do it well, tell me people wouldn't kind of be into that. Like, it has the potential of being way, way more effective. And then, sure enough, yes, give players a lot of rewards for the fact that they're stuck watching a dumb ad. Give them in-game treats. Give them skins that they can goof around with. Give them like in-game currency if that's a thing. There's so many ways that they can sort of reward players for being basically good ad watching monkeys. And if you integrate it into the game's mechanics, people can't just ignore the ad. And that's one of the things that really matters. All that being said, let's be honest, something like Cyberpunk 2077 is 1,000 times more likely to have a mechanism for having ads in it, because the game literally has ads in it, just not for real products. It would be a lot easier to integrate that stuff into that game than it would be, let's say, Ghost of Tsushima, or trying to think of other games that are just thematically inappropriate for this stuff. But racing games obviously make more sense for that. Honestly, like even Mario games or something, like I could see them putting screens in the background that have stuff. And you could have levels that are dedicated to specific products. But there's so many ways that you can integrate and do really big, interesting stuff. And honestly, then compare that to the, oh yeah, let's just have an in-game video that plays on TVs or on a billboard. Nobody wants to, like, that's fine. It's another place for advertisers to put stuff. But are they, like, is that better? I think they can do better than this. That's the thing. And this honestly is why I think this idea never seems to catch on, like not in a big way. Let's see, David, do you feel like there should be more product placement in games? But I guess that's why you pay almost $70 for games. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too. Let's see games not be $70. Let's imagine for a second if a collector's edition game, or you know, like the full game with season pass and all that stuff, or whatever you want to call it. Imagine if the best version of this game were available and they're like, look, we got great voice actors, we got this is a full AAA game that last year would have cost $70, but everyone is going to get to buy it for $40 because yeah, we collaborated with Coca-Cola, and we collaborated with this company, we collaborated with that company. Their game mechanics, they 100% feature this stuff. You're going to see advertising. Just plain and simple, you're going to see advertising. It's still a good game. If it's still a good game and it's going to cost you, you know, 35 to 40% less, think about how many people are going to look at that and say, yeah, okay, sign us up, we'll buy that. So yeah, I'm sorry, but I think that the fact that this story keeps emerging, keeps coming up every few years, and every few years a bunch of people rage about it, everyone says, oh my god, I'll hate it. The little bit that ever happens, no one ever hates it, no one ever really cares that much. And then when it really doesn't pick up in a big way, everyone just turns around and says, oh, well, okay, I guess we'll forget about it. Why do I keep hearing clip sounds? What the hell is doing that? I gotta be getting oh, I wonder if, no, it wouldn't be that. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a tab open somewhere that is allowing something to make a, oh, it's Mastodon. That's what I had open. I thought? Actually, I don't know what it was. Oh, is it? Okay, I think it was Zach following me. And if you're still on the stream, hey Zach, how's it going? Followed back. Let's see. But yeah, anyway, so I don't know. I'm kind of out of thoughts on this. And for that note, I'm actually kind of out of topics. But yeah, I'm just saying games gotta be better. Like I'm not against advertising in games. I'd rather there not be. I'd rather there not be ads in videos or ads in web pages. But I admit and I accept they're gonna be there. And I'd rather not pay $70 for a game. Or hey, how about you could pay $70 for the game and get the ad-free experience, or pay $40 for the game and have some ads loaded into it. I don't know. Stuff like this makes sense. Anyway, with that said, yeah, we're almost at 6 o'clock, which is still a pretty long stream. That's a healthy stream. We've been going almost 3.5 hours, and we did definitely make our 15-minute marker. So I'm feeling like the world has been slightly saved again. So yes, I was actually going to say the happy transition for the game topic is this weekend I am going to take at least I'm going to at least go into Control. I'm pretty sure I'll be streaming both days. I don't want to make any promises because I also have a review that I'm going to have to dedicate a bunch of time to. But my hunch is I'll probably be streaming both days. Oh, actually, you know what? I can check something right now that's going to kind of answer this a little bit. Huh. Okay. I will probably be streaming on Saturday. I'm not going to make any promises for Sunday. Sunday's a little more up in the air. No certainty either way, just saying. But I'll probably be streaming both days. We'll see what happens. Anyway, my plan is I'm going to go into Control, try to figure out what else there is in that game. If there's like an actual ending, and I probably should look at like a walkthrough or something and find out, is there an actual ending to the game, or does that game just have like the least climactic ending of any game ever? So yeah, probably going to be a bit on that, and then I need to figure out what will be replacing it, and I have not come to a conclusion on that. I might just do kind of a explore Stadia sort of weekend, if that's what it turns into. Maybe try out a couple of the other new games that have popped up. I could be wrong, but I thought there was a free-to-play. I know there was like a week or two ago. I wouldn't be surprised if there was another one coming up fairly soon, so maybe try out whatever else is coming out. We shall see. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much the plan for the weekend. Is not much of a plan. You know how it goes. But yeah, with that, I think that's about it. So anyway, with that said, thank you all for coming by, being part of the conversation, hanging out, watching the RambleCast. If you would like to support the channel, I have added, yes, I finally got around to adding something, though I didn't change the thing I have promised to change forever. But if you look down in the links below, you can support the channel by visiting Patreon, Streamlabs, or I have added Cash App. If you would like to contribute $1, $2, if you'd like to subscribe, anything, it is certainly welcome, not required. Um, yes, I finally remembered to do something, and I still haven't fixed the Streamlabs over to PayPal thing. I swear I'll do it one of these days. I can't understand why I didn't do that when I added Cash App, but yeah, I saw Cash App and it's like, yeah, this seems like a thing I may as well add. Some people seem to like it. I honestly don't know it very well, so who knows? Maybe that's a mistake. If it turns out to be a mistake, or if someone says it's a bad idea, let me know why. I'm curious. But yeah, with that, yeah, so that's now an option that's in there. Otherwise, I can't think of anything else to say. So, as usual, I will see you all in Discord. I hope everyone has a good rest of your week. I will be probably chugging along, trying to get some articles out. And otherwise, yeah, pretty much the normal routine. So I will see you all in chat. And with that, good night, everybody.